Thank you, sir. I would also request the speakers to join us on the dais, starting with Shri Suryansh Jalan, CEO, FarEye. Mr. Suryansh Jalan is a dynamic business leader with an entrepreneurial mindset. As president at FarEye, a company that has raised more than $150 million, he is responsible for setting the long-term vision, driving strategic partnership and investments, and ensuring success for FarEye's 150-plus customers across 25 countries. A seasoned supply chain expert with Six Sigma certification, he is a technologist at heart. Thank you so much, sir, for being here. Let us now welcome Mr. Siddharth Vij. Mr. Siddharth Vij is the CEO and co-founder at Business. Post completing graduation in economics from Delhi University, he started Business straight out of college. And I hope I'm pronouncing it correctly. It's Business, right? Okay, thank you so much. He did not opt for further education or took any sort of work experience, directly started with business, and having said this, it's been 7 years since he's been in this, and about his co-founders, who he says, found while in college itself. Initially, he started solving for footwear factories. Now factories from all lifestyle categories are registered on Business. Business currently employs 1,500 plus people and does an annual turnover of $150 million US, and currently headquartered in New Delhi. Welcome, sir. I would now like to welcome Subhash Datta, Head of Operations and Malware Research at SecureTech. An ex-Navy personnel, CDR Sir, in the private sector after he left Navy, has been a part of cybersecurity services startup and then joined SecureTech Private Limited. He has been a part of SecureTech since inception, having joined in 2014 and therefore has been a main architect of many of the services and products at SecureTech. He initially set up the Security Assurance Services, then the Security Operations Center to provide continuous monitoring of clients' network and system. He currently heads the malware research and R&D efforts that contribute to the security products and services that SecureTech offers. Thank you so much, everyone, for being here. I would like to hand over to Mr. Rohit to take it forward.
Thank you so much. A very good afternoon, everybody, and thank you for coming in after, the lunch break. And I'm sure this is a very difficult session to actually conduct and to actually bring in the enthusiasm after you've had a full lunch. So thank you so much for coming in. I think this is a really, really important session, for all the budding startups and the audience here. And I'm very pleased, to welcome a very diverse panel. We have Suryansh Jalan from FarEye, president and founder, a digital logistics company. We have Siddharth Vij from Business, and this is a B2B platform. And we have Mr. Datta from SecureTech, if I have that right. And as the name suggests, a security solutions company. And you can see, I think, all age profiles here, right? And similarly, we're going to get different types of, advice and, pearls of wisdom from our, panelists. So I do know that, Siddharth has an important meeting and he needs to leave a little early. So I will start with Siddharth. And I will start, with the same question for, all our panelists. And I'll first request them to sort of introduce themselves, talk a little bit about their, their company, their startup, and of course, a little bit about the journey, so far. And since all of them are at different scales, sizes, and, with different business models, I thought it's important to do this to set the context. So, Over to you, Siddharth. Yeah.
Thank you. I'll just give a brief introduction about myself. My name is Siddharth Vij, one of the founders at Business. Business is a B2B platform, and we almost try to cater to factories, brands, and retailers across the board. There are long tail of factories in the fashion lifestyle sector in India, from micro factories to large factories. Then there are almost 50 lakh plus retailers, which are mom and pop shops. Whenever you go around the corners and streets and markets, you see those retailers selling footwear, fashion, accessories, and so on and so forth. Those are our target users, and factories and brands. So we build distribution for brands. We are trying to help factories with production and trying to help retailers source the right product. So business is trying to create that ecosystem of factories, brands, and retailers. The wholesome approach is that the large supply chain problem and the large B2B problems in the certain sector can only be solved if there is a large value creation which can happen at the factory's end. I started this company with a couple of my friends, and of course we are now a great founding team. In 2015, I started this company. I come from Agra, and the whole motivation to start this company was coming from there because I and the entire early founding team have grown up seeing our fathers in manufacturing. So my father owns a factory in footwear in Agra, and the idea is to understand that what factory owner faces and how the traditional wholesale system and the traditional distribution system is not, what are the problems and what are the benefits that they're getting. So counteracting that, can we use technology to help factories digitized, to get retailers digitized, and to get brands digitized in a way. So that's what business started with. The name itself relies on consider the target market that we actually rely on, जो कि business को business बोलते हैं. And so we have almost 4,000 to 5,000 factories on our platform. Almost have more than 50,000 retailers who are using business now across fashion lifestyle categories. And that's how we're trying to create value. I think B2B is very early in nature. There are good companies who have formed over the last 2-3 years. Next 10 years will be about manufacturing and about how large manufacturing sectors or small and medium manufacturing sectors needs to get evolved. And I think companies and technology here has a great role to play, which business is trying to play forward to. Having said this, as I said, that the journey has been lasting for almost now 7 years. Started this company without any certain corporate or job experience, with just an experience of first principle thinking that how business is run. And that's how we are able to stay far up till now. And hopefully we'll be able to create the larger value. That's it. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Siddharth. A very, different kind of model, a very, different kind of background, and I'm sure many people in the audience would relate to this. We look forward to, your words of advice, in the subsequent, rounds. So I'll request my other panelists to do a short introduction, and then we'll, come back to you, with, some questions. So thank you for that.
Sure.
Over to you, Suryansh, now. And I think we're sharing a mic. So
Thanks, Rohit. First off, thanks to ESC and STPI for hosting this event and having me here. Quick introduction, I think we had one from the moderator, but my name is Suryansh. I'm the president at Fireside. Fireside is essentially the reason why you pay for your Domino's pizza and you get it on time instead of getting it for free. And to just double click on that and talk a little bit about what we do, as a consumer, you and I have got so obsessed with the Amazon-like or the Uber-like experience. Today, we are deciding what to buy, no more on what's the cost of it or what is the product itself, but also on how am I receiving the product. That experience, that control over that has become essential to us. If you have a housewarming a week from today and you want to buy furniture for that, you will buy it from not the best sofa company, not the cheapest sofa company, but from the company who can get it to you before your housewarming. So a lot of the buying decision behavior is now being influenced by online commerce and deliveries, and that's what Fireside looks to do. We work with retailers, D2C manufacturers, so companies like Domino's who are doing food delivery, companies like IKEA or Wayfair who are doing furniture, Walmart, Nike, apparel, all of these different consumer-facing brands to help them essentially bring that Amazon-like experience into their supply chain. So whether that's planning, whether that's visibility, customer experience, these are all things that we do. Uh, as a business, we're currently present across 30 countries. We have offices in Chicago, London, Singapore, Dubai, and of course in India. And we're really servicing around 200 plus enterprise companies globally. Personally, just a quick background, I'm an engineer by profession, by education, maybe not by profession. And after my engineering, I worked at a company called Caterpillar for a year. And that's where I was handling the supply chain, parts that were coming in from different parts of the world. And I saw that even a company as big as Caterpillar, and this is like a Forbes, top 10 most admired companies, they build, trucks which cost 10 crores, 15 crores. And I saw that their supply chain, it got stuck because of a 50-cent bolt that was not coming in time. And that didn't make sense to me. A company that's spending billions of dollars in logistics, having a, shortage of a 50-cent part, right? So that's when I took the naive decision to quit my job, do something about it, and started company focusing towards getting better control into logistics. So that's a brief about me, a lot more. Looking forward to discussing and sharing with you guys.
Thank you, Suryansh, for that. Very impressive growth and, a real impressive journey. So thank you for that. I would now request Subhash. Subhash, sir, if you can just give a brief background about your company and what you do to actually set the context. So over to you.
Thanks. So good afternoon, everybody. Like I said, this is a difficult session, and I can see a few heads nodding off. I hope that the rest of the discussions are slightly more stimulating. So a little bit about myself. I come from a naval background. I served in the Indian Navy for close to 25 years. I was a surface warfare specialist in the Navy. So this transition to cybersecurity, this field that I am in, has been a slightly, drastic change. But apart from that, there was one of the stints that I did in the Navy. I was head of the information warfare group at the Navy. Apart from certain things that I'm still not permitted to talk about, I was also looking after the complete networks of the Navy, including the operational and the logistics networks. Thereafter, I joined a small startup. I was part of Symantec for some time, and then I joined SecureTech when we started operations in 2013. We are a pure cybersecurity company. Now, in this world, there are at least around 8,000 cybersecurity companies bringing out at least 70 to 80 different products focusing on cybersecurity. So how did we get into this field, and what are we doing here? So what we did was we had a lot of discussions initially when we set up this company as to what are the pain points, what are the issues relating to large enterprises. So if you are a cybersecurity manager at a large enterprise, what is it that keeps you up at night? We found three common things. One is, what is my IT doing? So therefore, what are the applications installed on the systems? What are the level of support? What is the level of vulnerabilities present on that? Second is, who are my users? What are they doing? Users are not just the full-time employees, but people accessing those systems. So users to organizations, companies like Suryansh and Siddharth also. So they have a global user base. They are not certain as to what level of access these users have. And the third most important aspect that these organizations look at is having a holistic view of the security operations. Am I secure now? What is the bad things happening outside? How do they contextually correlate to my environment? So these are the three pain points, and SecureTech started developing 3 lines of products. And we also realized that, on an average, if you are in your office environment, on your laptops, desktops, there'll be at least 7 to 8 small clients antivirus. Start off with the basic antivirus, probably a data loss prevention, a DLP client, probably something which will do patch management, something which will do an application whitelisting, do protect your system, your laptop, so that you cannot connect to an open Wi-Fi system, and so on and so forth. So security is pretty complicated. And then, of course, there are a lot of unknowns in the security world. So we started simplifying security. That's our mantra. We simplify security. 3 products: endpoint detection and response, identity governance and administration, and extended detection and response capability. So the first 2 are our products which we sell to businesses, and our is a B2B kind of an environment. Majority of our clients are in the financial sector. We do look after manufacturing, retail, as well as pharmaceutical and healthcare also. Headquartered in Mumbai, we have an office here in Gurgaon, Delhi NCR. We have offices in Bangalore, Hyderabad, and we have just opened our offices in US. So we are foraying over there. Around 450 people company, primarily based out of Mumbai, but spread across the 3-4 areas that we are based out of. So that, in short, is about SecureTech and about my journey. Thank you so much for your patience.
Great, yeah. Thank you, Subhashji. Thank you for that. So like I said, a very, very, very diverse panel. So I move back to Siddharth. I know, Siddharth, you're a little pressed for time. So wanted to ask you that, when you set up your business, what were some of the key challenges which you faced? And if there's anybody here who's also wanting to set up a startup and, set that up without doing a job, getting straight out of college and starting something, what would be some of your words of advice to them? So some of your challenges in context to your business you faced, how you kind of overcome those, and a few words of advice, based on your journey that you would like to give to the audience. And I would request the audience, if you have any questions specifically for Siddharth, then after he answers this question, I can open the floor for you to ask, him, a question or so, if you would like. So we will, and then I will move to the rest of the panelists. Over to you.
Thanks a lot, Rohit. So I think I would answer this question in, of course, my context of journey, because when I started this in 2015, the challenges were quite different. So basic challenges of starting a business is always same. They never change from the fundamentals point of view. But I think today the ecosystem is much more maturer as compared to what it was in 2015. So I think in that perspective, the challenges we might have faced is not something that the new entrepreneurs would face. But having said this, I just talk about a bit about my journey, and I would just again putting a disclaimer, just take all this with a pinch of salt, because it's always, challenges are always in a very personal context. They are never same. They change. But I think I could give some advice that which I followed, or we as a team followed, which actually worked for us and actually helped us sail through. So of course, when we started this company, the most important thing was that why we are doing it. I was coming from a family business background, right? So understand the basics of business. What is profit, what is loss, what is income, what is expense, and all those things. But I think when you are starting something which is very challenging to a status quo, for example, हम लोग जब start कर रहे थे, when we were starting with businesses and we formed an app, तो my father only said कि यार ये factories use करेंगी कैसे? मतलब businesses are so resistant to use anything. I think India का जो businessman है, जो कि एक normal shopkeeper है या factory owner है, या factory चलाता है या brand चलाता है या retail shop चलाता है, वो इतना resistant है अपने एक style of doing, क्योंकि वो 40-50 साल से उस तरीके से business, या फिर ये बहुत ही successor dependent businesses होते हैं, and they actually sail through the journeys and genes. So I think it was, of course, one challenge we had was that would people be more resistant and more adaptive to the change that we're trying to bring in. So again, as I said, we launched, and समुंदर में कूदने वाली बात होती है, so कूद जाओ, speak to the customers. The most important thing that helped us, so मैं कैपिटल के चैलेंजेस की बात नहीं करूँगा, मैं टीम के चैलेंजेस की बात नहीं करूँगा, बिकॉज वो चैलेंजेस हर बिजनेस में फंडामेंटल है. सबको अगर किसी भी एंटरप्रेन्योर से पूछोगे चैलेंज क्या है कि भाई लोग नहीं मिलते या फाउंडर नहीं मिलते या फिर साथ में पैसा नहीं मिलता. आई थिंक पैसा इज़ द लास्ट प्रायोरिटी बिकॉज in the first early years, the people who have money or the people who don't have money should never throw money at the problem. Doesn't, irrespective of the money. अगर आप early years में पैसा फेंक रहे हो problem पे, I don't think that you will be able to get a surface level insight which you can get otherwise. So I won't suggest कि money is always a problem because of course I had a luxury that my father and mother I didn't have to support them. Because I started very early in my journey. I started just in my third year of college. So most of our teams, early teams, haven't even done post-graduation, sort of. So we just started the company directly. So I think, so I didn't have a personal challenge of maybe supporting my family, but of course, with business, what we were trying to do, we didn't need much capital at that point of time. We had a founder, I had a founder who could code and build a product, build a mobile application or a website. So having said this, I think the most important thing and the most important challenge in the first 2-3 years was understanding the customer. And to be honest, in the first 6 months of journey, we really underestimated. We thought यार हमको तो पता है कि फैक्ट्री कैसे काम करती है, रिटेलर्स कैसे काम करते हैं, तो ऐसे प्रोडक्ट बन जाएगा और ऐसे स्केल कर जाएगा. To be fair, last 7 साल हो गए and every day when I go to market, I learn something new about the customer. So from the perspective of it, I think the most important thing and the biggest challenge has been is to, of course, find right people. But I think that is always the challenge. But the second biggest challenge is that are we observing right insights from the customer so that we can form into a product and get the relevant thing check out. So, and of course, these are the 2-3 big challenges that we have always faced. But I think first 3 years we ran a bootstrapped way. We didn't raise any, so we didn't know about VC's investment at that point of time, right? And I think, to be honest, investor ecosystem बहुत ही pedigree focused था in that era, right? And of course, I or most of our teams were not coming from any particular kind of a big pedigree कि हम लोग बहुत बड़े college से आ रहे हैं या कोई backing से आ रहे हैं, ऐसा कुछ नहीं था. So we didn't. Had it been we have even gone to the market, we wouldn't have raised any investment, right? But of course, we had some money that we couldn't put off, and we ran the bootstrap way for the first 3 years. And I can really say that the first 3 years, what made us learn was the future of everything. I mean, I really think that those first 3 years made us learn कि यार कैसे बिना पैसों के business बनाना है, कैसे problems पे पैसा नहीं दिमाग फेंकना है. Basically, put brain on the problem and not just money, even if you have money or you don't have, because that's when you get the real customer and very, very, very fundamental and very basic insight that is required. So businesses are generally very simple to build. They are complex to think and the complex to execute, of course. But if you put more and more simplicity into the picture and go to that first principle level of thinking, I think you work out. The first 3 years of bootstrap journey, of course, helped us a lot to understand a lot of things what we're trying to build. Given that we are also trying to change the market in a way which was very resistant, we always had this challenge. But I think when the product is focused and when the why is very clear about the business, you just be consistent on that problem. So we have always been consistent about the problem कि यार हमको B2B बनाना है. We don't want to focus on anything. We started with a small sector first. We started with footwear because we understood कि यार पहले एक बारी इस category की problem को solve करते हैं. If it makes sense, if there is a large value creation, then we'll scale it to further levels. So I think those decisions taken in hindsight because of whatever reason, today it has helped. So I'd always suggest to entrepreneurs who are coming in, just think about the first basic insight, solve that problem for 1 or 2 customers, see if you are able to generate that amount of love which is required to scale a company. Because अगर customer के लिए वो सिर्फ और सिर्फ एक alternative better solution है, I don't think so a scalable business can be built. Until and unless there is a large value creation or something differently new for the customer, I don't think a scalable business can be built. So I think you really want to understand that, okay, is my product really changing the way that was being imagined or was being thought of or put on papers initially? If that stays true, then the next steps of scaling up journey should be found. That's one thing. And of course, today, if I could just give one advice, that I don't know, how anyone should take it. But I think what has worked for us up till now is not bookish knowledge, not theoretical knowledge. I think I've never read bookish understandings except the books I read and I love the most. But the first principle thinking of doing things has helped us the most. अगर कुछ problem है, customer से जाके पूछ लो. कुछ issue है कि यार ये product में क्या चाहिए, क्या नहीं चाहिए, ये scale कैसे होगा. I think lot of things come by failure. Failures are a part of this journey. You learn lot of things, no matter what you will learn by failure. But I think that first principle thinking of thinking bottoms up, thinking on the surface, cutting down the jazz and just thinking about the product, about the value creation for the customer will really help in the initial journey than thinking about events, than thinking about capital, than thinking about कि मुझे किस investors को approach करना है, किसको क्या करना है. I really think most important clarity is clarity about the long-term business comes by insights when you observe the customer. Early on, we used to go to the customer and बस चाय पीने चले जाते थे customers के साथ. Retailers जो app use कर रहा होता था उसके साथ चाय पीने चले जाते थे. Just to see how he uses the product, what he does in the entire day, how he thinks, what does he do. Similar with the factory, similar with the brand. So I think those insights have really helped. The more and more closer to your customer you are as a founding team or as an early team, the better it will be. And this will never this point will never grow older, stale in your entire journey. Be it you are a one team company or a 10,000 people company, doesn't matter. I really think that being on the front line, closer to the customer, observing that how the customer is using the product, evolving it day on day, matters the most in the entire complex of building a company. So that's about my advice to you guys, and all of you gentlemen sitting here. Any questions from your end, I would love to take. Sorry, I am pressed on time. I might have to leave in some time, but any particular question you have, I would love to answer in any particular prospect.
So, does the audience have any questions for Siddharth? Would anybody like to? Yeah.
Got it. So, first of all, I don't think that that the high-tech companies have not done any customer research. Because I'll tell you, जो आपने statement बोला ना कि एक technology है जो कि customer की beyond thinking है. अगर वो beyond thinking होगी तो वो beyond use भी होगी. Customer will never. Today, Apple always focused on design from day zero. If you hear any Steve Jobs speeches, anything that always about his vision, he would always speak about the design that he wants to change the customer with. I agree, but at the end of the day, it comes backwards. There is something that you're trying to play a differentiator on, right? So at least, okay, it might not work in many other contexts, as you're saying, but at least what we believe, if the technology or whatever high tech you're trying to build, if the use case of that particular point is not very clear to the customer, or customer is not able to simply differentiate that, I don't think that can scale. So, to just answer your question very quickly, I'm not saying that everything comes backward. There is some idea that as a founder or as an individual you have that you want to change with, but that should really validate when it comes to having some insights ki this is my thought and this is backed by some observations that I've done from the customer. And this is how the customer will be able to differentiate it. I think that level of practical understanding should always be there before building any sort of long-term vision to a product or attaching a lot of a vision to a certain product.
Maybe if I can add to what Siddharth was saying, I think the key, and he talked about it, is the agility to keep iterating. Yeah. So I think even the best companies in the world, you're absolutely right. Sometimes, you're designing for what you assume that the customer might need. And so if you were to ask them, hey, instead of buttons, would you like a touch screen to dial? They're like, no, I like to touch things, right? I don't like a touch screen. So, but eventually, even if you do go ahead, you feel you have the pulse, you create a touch screen. The first thing you want to do is you want to try expose it to the customer. right? So take your MVP out, your minimum viable product, get the feedback, and keep iterating on that. I think if you build a complete product in a black box, thinking it'll work for the audience, you're playing a game of chance, how well your thought process aligns. But if you want to de-risk it, you kind of split it up into an MVP and then iterations. You take your MVP out fast, get your feedback, and you iterate from it. A lot of things that Apple have done which has not worked out. It's just that you don't hear about it because they completely drop it when they don't get the right feedback. So I think that's the key gap between the two, how to bridge it. You build your MVP and then you look for user feedback to actually scale it up.
Great, yeah. Thank you. Thank you for that. Thank you for the question, and thank you for the, the answers. I'd now like to, move to you, Suryansh. We'll do this in a slightly different way. We'll come back to, your specific challenges and, your words of advice to the audience later. But would like to ask you that, every startup or every individual has a mentor, right? And when you were starting off on your startup journey, and you've really progressed a long way since you kind of started off. Who were you actually following? And is there a company which you would like to name? And would you like to share some of the principles of why you followed that company and why that company has actually succeeded? I think that would be very useful, as words of advice, through a use case, which the audience can, imbibe to, in their paths to actually becoming achievers.
Got it. Thanks, Rohit. It's good, the post-lunch session, to keep mixing it up, right? So yeah, I think maybe splitting that question into two parts, for me personally, and then which is the company that I admire. I think it sounds a little cliche, and the more you listen to, to founders talk, the more you'll realize they're all saying the same thing. It's the same story, with different clothes and different scenarios. I think for us as well, the first, we didn't have a mentor as say to start off with. The closest thing I can say to a mentor is a customer. So the first big customer that we signed, that is the customer who taught us everything about logistics, who taught us everything about what that kind of customer needs, what will work, what won't work. So I basically took a small Oyo barely 500 meters from his office, and I stayed there for a month. I was just there with him, quizzing him every day. He's a great man. He's still one of our closest customers. And he would guide, on what does the industry look like, what do brands need, how does supply chain work, what are the gaps that tech can solve. So I think the biggest, North Star for you, irrespective of what you're doing, where you're doing, how tech changes, how the world changes, is eventually what does your customer want, and how can you solve that problem. So I think that was the biggest, driver for us in the initial years. Now when I look back, and when I look at the ecosystem, there's so many companies, out there that are doing some brilliant job. I mean, today just talking to Siddharth and hearing more about business, obviously knew about it, but just hearing it from him, it's amazing. The passion, the opportunity that we're solving, how we're bringing, tech into, into the larger demographic, and how we're helping, improve services. But the story, probably the company that I'd like to call out, comes to mind, they've been in the news quite a bit recently, is actually Zoho. And it's kind of counterintuitive to this whole session, right? Because we're at a session to build unicorns. We're talking about funding, and VCs and all of that. And here is a company, for those of you who may know Zoho, founded by Sridhar Vembu, who have actually built one of the largest SaaS, software as a service companies, not just out of India, but one of the largest. And they've done it without raising a single dollar of money. It's completely built on bootstrap. He spent good 15, 20 years investing into the business and kind of scaling that up. So I think probably the one lesson or takeaway that I have when I look at, Sridhar is, there's no one path to building a large and successful business, right? If someone was to tell you, get to this revenue, raise capital, get to this, raise capital, get to this, raise capital, that's not how it works. I think for every business, there is their own way of scaling up. There are a lot of big businesses that have been built without, investor money, with reinvesting profits, with, bootstrapping, with debt funding. So I think I just want to call it out more from a good example of how the execution of a company can be driven. And just to open the mind of all of us over here, that funding is not the only option and not the only way. There are massive businesses that have been built without having to go through a fundraise as well. Thank you.
Great, yeah. Thank you so much for that, Suryansh. Subhash, the same question for you. Who has been a mentor, maybe if you would like to do it in a personal context or from the company context. And if you could call out the name of, one of the startups which you admire and which you follow, and what are their mantras for success?
Right. So taking on, in fact, Suryansh has stolen that thunder. I had also Zoho in mind. Specifically, Zoho and Freshdesk. These are the two companies starting from India. And like Suryansh has said, with no funding, just the courage of their own convictions. They realize that they have a product which works. That was the starting block. They did a little bit of prototyping and then they quickly went into the market. They did not wait to get a perfect product, because then if you do that waiting for a perfect product, you lose the first mover initiatives. That is very important. So they did that. They moved into the market. They saw a need. They fulfilled that need with a product that worked from the word go. It is now a global organization, global company, Zoho and both Freshdesk, starting from India. And they started afresh. They have reached the level of, that all of us are here are especially envious of. Speaking of a personal mentor, during my naval career, I did have a boss with whom I had the pleasure of serving in 3 different appointments. One of the rare, service personnel who had an ability to think 10 years hence. What is it that the nation needs or the Navy needs, and so on and so forth. So he inculcated in me this desire to think ahead, to see what are the likelihoods, what are the likely paths that I can take, and therefore what are going to be the repercussions. What is going to happen thereafter? So I am forever indebted to him. His name is Vice Admiral Pradeep Chauhan. He's currently he's retired now, like me. He is currently the Director General of National Maritime Foundation. It is one of the think tanks related to maritime matters in India, and still in very close contact with me. Thank you.
Thanks, Subhash. I'm not going to let you go now, so I'm going to do it the other way around. So just mix it up a bit. Right. So can you, talk to the audience a little bit about the challenges that you faced in each part of the journey of Securitech. Right. So what were some of the challenges initially? When you grew, when you reached a certain size, what were some of your challenges then? Maybe during the COVID period, which was also, something which affected everybody. Yes. And if you can then, give some words of advice as to how you overcome those challenges. Right. That'll be fantastic. Yeah.
Right. So the first one, of course, what Siddharth also mentioned initially was, although he said, don't look, everybody, that's a standard problem, people. You don't get people which are capable of delivering what you had thought. They would definitely deliver to some level. But the things that the product that you have in mind, it will take time. It will take time for them to deliver. Have patience. That is what I had learned. That even with a team, even with people who do not really meet your skills that you require to develop whatever it is that you're looking for today, have patience with them, encourage them. Tell them that yes, we are together in this journey and yes, we will be able to do this. But once you have a product, once you have something which is working, quickly move out. There's a very common saying that best is the enemy of good enough. So do not wait for things to put all the bells and whistles, have all the features that you have ever thought of. Start off with something simple. I gave an example of one of our products, the endpoint detection and response EDR solution. It is a one single client which handles 6 different technologies. 9 years down the line, all those 6 technologies are still not in place with us. We took a conscious decision that yes, okay, we will not look at data loss prevention right now because that is something which is already available and it's a fairly robust product. Let's look at application whitelisting. Let's look at vulnerability management. Let's look at patch management. And more importantly, let us focus first on the basic anti-malware capability. Develop an AI-based model rather than a signature-based model so that people who are not even connected to the net, they are also protected. So if somebody inserts a pen drive into their system, they are protected. So the basic product, move it out quickly, prototype it, pilot it. But do not wait for everything to come together because it will take time. Have patience, it will take time. So that was one of the things that we learned. The other one on identity governance that we started off with a very rudimentary product which was doing, for those of you who are familiar with technologies, Windows Active Directory administration. So from there we graduated on and now this is a product which is in place with the Axis Bank. All their branches, all 1,75,000 users are using this product. It is integrated with 600 applications of there. The complete user management of that one bank is being done by this product right now.
Great. Thank you, Subhash. Suryansh, is it important for an entrepreneur or a startup founder to fail to actually succeed? And if you can contextualize that with your own journey. So, I mean, and I look at my personal journey where I've actually been in a, in consulting and in a job kind of scenario, then, move to a partnership, etc. I've always wanted to succeed, right? So perhaps my failures have not been at that much of a low. So when I look at, people within this ecosystem, it's something which I'm personally very curious about. So that's one of my questions, and is it really important to fail to succeed? And also, in addition to that, if you can share with the audience 3 of your mantras for success. So if you would point out, and this could be agnostic to the kind of startup that it is. So if you would want to give, after answering the first question, 3 words of advice. If you follow A, B, and C, you will succeed, you will become an achiever. What would that A, B, and C be? So over to you, Suryansh, and then after that, we'll open the floor to questions.
Thanks, Rohit. Quite a loaded question. I think for the first question, look, my life is a life of failures. That's how I look at it. Every single day, every single week, I fail. And I'm happy that I fail because it means I've tried something new and I've learned how not to do it. So just to contextualize it, and I keep saying that startup is the best degree you can get, and I congratulate every founder who's embarked on that journey. It's the best learning experience. Nothing teaches you more about life, about anything more than a startup, and all the ups and downs. I was telling you outside, every day of my life is the best day and the worst day of my life, depending on the time of the day you talk to me. And just to contextualize this with a little bit of probably example. So when I did leave Caterpillar and I started I started the company, the first thing that everyone tells you is that go talk to customers, go talk to people, right? So I was like, I'm going to do it +1. So I went to all the transport parks in the big cities of India, and I just had countless number of extra sweet tea with all the brokers and all the truck owners out there, right? I was like, yeah, I'm getting good intel, I know what to do. And then there was a craze of Uber and Airbnbs at that time. So I thought, let me launch an Uber for logistics in India, right? So you can book a truck through your app. So we spent 3 months building the best product in the world. I can assure you, hands down, that there is no product in the world that does truck booking better than that product that we built. How many trucks did it actually book? 0. And we spent 3 to 4 months, all of our savings, building that best product. I think this is what even Shwaji was referring to. As Mr. Datta said, that you don't build the best product. We build a product for engineers who are 20-something and what they understand of the market and how comfortable they are with the phones. But 7 years back, a truck driver or a truck owner did not even have internet, did not even have a smartphone, right? So, yeah, good luck having them book their trucks and trust that application, right? So, I think that was the first big learning that and today if you look at it, that's the way the market is going. We are eventually getting a lot of companies building that kind of software. So, you might be ahead of, going back to the question that the gentleman had asked, what you build might truly be the direction which the market is moving. You might be right in that. But till you've not tested it, and that's why I say startup is a continuous experiment. We talk about definitions of startup. People call it based on age, on revenue. I can start a mom and pop pawn shop on the road tomorrow. It's a new company. It's young. It has 0 revenue. Would you call it a startup, right? I mean, it doesn't sound like a startup, right? And that difference is that, in my view, a startup is a company that's always in experiment. It's always trying to learn, trying to figure out a new way to enter the market, a new way to grow things, a new problem to solve. And that's what, as a founder, you need to, and that's why you embrace failures, because you're keeping on experimenting. So that was the first big lesson, similar to what he had said, that don't build the perfect thing. Build some little bit that you understand, and then go and test it, right? Let users tell you what needs to be done. And you'll fail many times. Just to extend the story, to give you a little bit flavor of how badly I've failed and how many times I've failed, right? So that was 3 months into the journey. 50% of all your savings is wiped out. And, you realize that I could have spent these 3 months holidaying in Goa, spending that same amount of money, in Goa, and I would have still been at the same spot I am today, right? That feeling of, complete dejection, and now you have the chance, should I gamble the rest of the 50% away, or should I just, this is not for me, let me pack up and go back, right? So I think what drives at that point is the problem you're trying to solve. And that's why, even Siddhartha talked about it, that knowing your North Star, knowing your why am I doing this? And that why cannot be the money, it cannot be, to be quoted by newspapers or, win awards or get funding. That why eventually is, what is that problem that's not sitting with me? What is that problem I want to correct, I want to solve? And that will keep you going. So we decided, okay, this thing is not working. Let us, they don't know how to use software, let's solve that problem. So we'll take bookings through SMS and phone. Yeah? And we'll scale it that way. Everything else will happen on the software, but the drivers and the truck owners will engage with us on phone and SMS. Cool, we started scaling that. We scaled that business also pretty well. We reached a point where we were making, I think, at that point around 50 lakhs per month running that business. But then again, we hit a ceiling because we were turning into a call center eventually, right? And that's not a business that scales. That's not, how you use tech. So again, you're faced with that same dilemma that now I've done so much, I'm earning 50 lakhs per month, but this has also failed. So can I really do this? Like, am I cut out for this, or should I just, leave this and take up a new problem? So then again, we, try to find the answer in the question itself that, okay, if people are paying us 50 lakhs, what are they paying us for? What are they liking? Can we focus on that piece? And that's where we felt that software that we were building that was helping these, logistic companies run, get more business, get more value. That was the most, a valuable thing. And obviously we learned that, you need to sell up the value chain. Things, being in the business teaches you. So that's when we pivoted for the third time. And we started selling software along with GPS hardware and took it to, many, many customers. Scale that business also, got angel funding, got good amount of business. Went to meet Jabong. Okay. This was back when e-commerce was just, starting to hit India and starting to peak it. We go all confidently. Now I've built, a successful business. I've got funding. How would you classify success, right? So we had those kind of things. Like we'll get this customer. When pitched, our GPS hardware and this software to them, he's like, are you stuck in the 2000s? What are you building? What is this? He takes the GPS device, puts it away, and slides 2 smartphones towards us. And I'm like, this is the future. Can you give me something on this? Only then will I buy from you. And again, you're hit with that same point of utter failure, right? Like, because you realize what he's saying is right. Like, there will be no GPS devices later on because everyone will have a smartphone. So everything that I built is again zero. So I failed again. And that, so it's just a journey of failure. It's you have these failures at every point. But I think the key thing is having that North Star that keeps you going. And then, putting your mind to why did I fail, what can I take away from it, and how can I drive success from it. There was a second question.
Yeah, that was on the three mantras for all startups.
Yeah, Suryash, before you go ahead with that, I just have something.
Thanks.
For that line which he says that he fails every day.
Give some time to think.
It's not failing. He actually succeeds in finding out what doesn't work.
So I have a different take on this, Suryan. So I mean, I think these were points of pivot. They weren't failures, right? Because you actually took the same business and you're actually in a modified form of the same business. So it's not that you were in logistics at one point in time and then you were into retail, right? Yeah. Or you went from retail into a B2B business or something. Yeah. So you've actually been in the same business, but yeah, you've had different turns, and you've actually developed the same business. So I would kind of put it a little differently, at least from the way I sort of take on from what you said. So
yeah, I think eventually, look, at that point when you're sitting in that room and you've witnessed all of it go away, all your house of cards have fallen, you feel like a failure at that time. You feel like a big fat zero at that time. So I think
so we are in a we are in a room where we are full of gamblers, right? It seems like that. It's a high risk platform. Yeah. There's high risk, there's high return, both for the investors and for the entrepreneur. And there's failure facing you at every step.
Absolutely.
Right? And but the customer teaches you constantly, right? And you have to follow what the customer is actually teaching you. So looking
perfect.
at that scenario,
Thank you for that. That's my first mantra of success. Thank you. It's about what does the customer want and just following that. I think if you put everything else to one side and if you just put this as your one thing you think when you wake up, what does the customer want, and how are we solving it? It's a cliche, right? You hear that a lot. But what does that mean? That means even if you have built a company, you have 100, 200 people, maybe 1,000 people working with you, creating value for your customers. It means you're still available to answer that call. You're still meeting customers. You're still talking to them. You're still learning from them. I think Siddharth mentioned it as well. Every day I learn something new from my customer. Their market is changing. Their business is changing. I need to change according to that. So I think the first biggest thing is don't build something in a black box and think that it's going to work. follow your customer, solve their problems, and just stick with them. The second big thing that I would like to say, and it's really more in terms of the multiple of effect it can have. So it's more of a leverage kind of a point, which is put your boat where the tide is the highest. If you look at our story, we talked about that mobile application and the truck booking. We had put our boat where the tide wasn't there, right? There was no geo, there was no smartphone proliferation, there was no internet in the hands of all users. And we're trying to solve a problem. You're running uphill, right? You're fighting against the current of nature. Now, every founder has that optimism that I understand you, nature, and now I'm going to make you work in this way. But there's some forces that you may be smarter off not fighting. So put your boat where the tide is highest. I'll give you a positive example as well. We've been talking only negative. So when COVID hit, right, we all realized everything went online, right? We started, buying all our things online, home deliveries. That became the norm. So we actually pivoted there again. Even though our business was running very successfully, we were scaling. We had already raised $30 million, Series D round, moving quite well. But we saw that opportunity in the market for that now logistics is going to play a bigger role. It's no more in the back end, right? If you are looking at online orders, it's in your hand. It's everything you're interacting is logistics, right? The supply chain is your first experience of that product. It's a fundamental shift. So again, we saw the tide going high in that direction. We put our boat there. We moved. We pivoted. I wouldn't say pivot, but we focused a lot more of our product development and go-to-market towards online commerce, right? So putting that boat where the tide was the highest, what that resulted in was 6 months after our $30 million funding, we actually raised $100 million from 2 private equity companies in US and UK, because they sensed the opportunity that we sensed as well. So I think anywhere in life, put your boat where the tide is the highest. You'll have much less problems to deal with. There are more than enough problems anyway. And then the third final thing that I would say more probably on a startup context is surround yourself, build an ecosystem and environment around yourself, whether that's people. And in people, just go for passion, right? Especially in the early period. Don't go for qualification, go for passion. You need people who believe. What are you giving them? You're not giving them anything. You're giving them a dream. You're giving them a hope. You're giving them that they as passionate about you as for that problem. You're going to be asking them to work 7 days a week. You're going to be asking them to work, 12 hours, 14 hours. Do you think they're going to do it for money? Yeah? Do you think they're going to do it because they're better qualified? The only reason they're going to do it is because they love what they're doing, right? So surround yourself with people who are passionate, who are better than you in many cases. And this is true for money as well. So when you look for investors, when you are, raising capital, all money is not the same. It's a very, when I, 10 years back when I used to hear someone say this, I used to be like, हाँ, तेरे लिए तो बहुत easy है, right, to say that. यहाँ पे तो पैसा नहीं मिल रहा है तो बोल रहा है all money is not the same. But it's true. Like if you build a business that is fundamentally fundable, it's fundable by a lot of different kind of money. It's right. If the business is not fundable, even if you get funds from someone, it's not going to work. But if you've built a business which is fundable, which can grow, which has core the customer in the center, core fundamentals, be careful about the money you raise as well. Make sure that alongside the capital, you're getting, either expertise, or you're getting access, someone who can help you capture the market, help you with what you're doing. Eventually, you need to build the company. No one is going to come and build it for you. But if you can get that along with the money, that's a much smarter way than just the capital alone. So these are
great. So it's listen to your customer, park your boat where the tide is the highest, and surround yourself with a network so that you can get those investors which are right for the business, the right fit for your business.
Yeah, and even people. Surround yourself with people
and investors who are the right fit for your business, because you built something which is credible, but it would get shaped better if it is with people who are the right stakeholders.
I think the people point, just to kind of double click on that a little bit, I think most of us over here will be tech startups, like probably less hardware, less of, the traditional businesses. Just like do this thought experiment, 50 years back, businesses that were built, like machine, manufacturing businesses, if you ran a manufacturing business, for you, the most important thing in your company is your machining plant, right? The thing that's helping you produce. You'll take good care of that. You'll ensure that it's, well maintained. You're getting the best machines from all across the world, right? Now, not to use it in that same comparison as a machine, but we need to realize as a tech company, all we have is our people, right? The software, there's no Chinese wall. Your competitor will catch up with what you've built. And we actually encourage that because it leads to more, messaging and marketing of our industry. But what we make sure is that we're always ahead of that competition. And that only happens when you've kept your asset, which is your team, well oiled and, motivated, and you've got the best people there.
So thank you. Thank you so much, Suryansh, and thank you, Subhashi. I think we've run out of time. That was a really fantastic session. And I hope the audience, took away. Do we have some time for questions, or should I, a couple of questions? Yeah. So does the audience have any questions for Suryansh and Subhashi? Any questions? Great. I think we can end the session. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
We've either done a great job or people have been bored. Let's hope it's the
No, I think we've done a great job. Yeah. So
Thank you, Mr. Rohit. Thank you, Mr. Suryansh and Mr. Subhash. Thanks for the sharp-witted words of wisdom helping us be achievers. Requesting Mr. Rohit to please present the mementos as our token of gratitude to the panelists. Mr. Suryansh Jalan. And Mr. Subhash Datta. Thank you, gentlemen. Famous VC Masayoshi Son said, "I don't look for companies, I look for founders." In the upcoming session, we will be witnessing a powerful fire chat on transforming India into entrepreneurial capital, for which I would like to invite the fire chat moderator, Sri Sushil Sharma, convener ESC Rajasthan chapter. We can applaud, please. Let's encourage all the speakers. Also inviting the speakers for the fire chat, may I request Mr. Sandro Stephen, Vice President, Indian Angel Network, to come on the stage. An entrepreneur at heart, Sandro Stephen has worked with brands like Airtel, Max, New York Life Insurance, further established HR SaaS and services company. Sandro joined IAN in 2013 and has been primarily looking at startups and evaluating deals for fundraising, further building relationships with existing and new potential investors. He has successfully sourced 80+ startups. Further, he has also helped build and execute operations for IAN in Hyderabad. He's also actively involved in mentoring entrepreneurs and is on the investment committee of leading incubators in IITs, IIMs. Seed support startup under Nidhi and Startup India Fund scheme, Technology Business Incubator. Welcome, sir. Inviting Shri Rahul Narvekar, Founder CEO, the India Network. An alumnus of Harvard Business School, IIM Calcutta, and ESSEC Business School, Paris, Rahul has had an interesting life journey so far. Starting his first venture in 1994 in the advertising space, he co-founded Asia's first interactive music channel in 1998 called Channel Oxygen in Mumbai. It went from 0 to 2 crore revenue and came back to 0 within 3 years. Having worked for various retail real estate companies, including DLF, Rahul co-founded www.fashionandyou.com in 2009. It became the first luxury e-commerce company to raise $8 million, then $40 million, and then $128 million. Welcome, sir. My humble welcome to Shri Addison Appu, Vice President, Incubate. Mr. Addison leads Incubate India operations and looks after the deal flow, investments, investor connects, and portfolio management across Southeast Asia. Key sector focus includes health tech, fintech, IoT, cloud, AI, ML, startups, deep tech, agri-tech, water tech, AR, VR, and infotech. He has experience in M&A, advisory, private equity infusion, and valuation within the diversified sectors. Previously involved in investment banking, including M&A, IPO, private equity deals. Key sectors covered included automotive, chemicals, cement, infrastructure, transportation, real estate, and clean tech. He has been involved on both Indian and global transactions. He has worked on international business development, structuring of overseas direct investment, along with project and corporate finance activities. Pleasure to have you, sir. Requesting Shri Sushil Sharma to please start the fire chart.
Thank you so much. So, first of all, thank you, ESC, for giving a wonderful chance to interact. And has been a wonderful panel because, all of us are friends. In my beginning of a journey, I worked with Rahul, got mentored with him. India Angel Network is one of the pioneers in the industry, and now Appu has been shared the chair in 2-3 sessions. So just to start, will be more informal, bilingual language, Hindi and English, because the purpose of this event is largely for startups, right? And let's make it more simpler. So to start with, मेरा नाम सुशील शर्मा है, मैं मारवाड़ी कैटलिस्ट का फाउंडर CEO हूँ, जोधपुर से ऑपरेट करता हूँ, एक स्टार्टअप एक्सेलेरेटर चलाता हूँ और 50 स्टार्टअप्स में अभी तक 50+ स्टार्टअप्स में इन्वेस्ट किया है और इससे पहले बहुत सारे बिजनेसेस फेल किए हैं, कुछ स्टार्टअप्स में पैसा रेज किया है, फेल किया है, फिर पैसा डाला है एज ए एंजल इन्वेस्टर और अब एक इकोसिस्टम बना रहा हूँ. Same way, I have with me Mr. Rahul Narvekar. He is there in the industry. He started his first fashion portal called Fashion and You, which was a very, very big success story. He started a company called the India Network, which was supposed to be India's biggest networking platform. Then India Angels, everybody knows, and Addison from Singapore, they ran a floating fund. They've invested in around 16 companies by now. To start with, our topic is to transform India into a entrepreneurial capital. So the idea, so let's take it in a way that why entrepreneurship is important. Is it the right time? What is needed? So to start with, Rahul, I'll take your opinion first of all on this topic. What is your say about is India at the right stage or not?
So I have been in this ecosystem from a very long time, and what has happened in the last 3 years has been transformative. So till 2018, there were I think 9 unicorns in India, and I knew all of them. And now I think it's about 106 if I'm not mistaken, unless अभी दोपहर तक कोई एक दो और बन गए होंगे तो पता नहीं. But 106 का last का number है. And as a country, honestly, we have to understand that we need at least 10 lakh jobs every month. And the availability is just 2 lakh jobs in the traditional sector. So वो 8 lakh का per month का gap है. And that can only be fulfilled by us kickstarting newer ventures at a micro level. That's one. Two is, I think what has worked for India is a couple of things. बोलते ना सही टाइम पे सब चीज़ें एक साथ फॉल होती है. तो कोविड बोल लो, चाइना ने आत्महत्या कर ली बोल लो, या the geo effect, all this money coming into India. We are the youngest country in the world. We are the largest English-speaking population. So all of these things are falling into place. And then of course, things like 106 Unicorn, Shark Tank. तो पहले when I used to travel to small town India में लुधियाना जाता था, रायपुर जाता था, नागपुर जाता था, तो I would meet a traditional businessman और बोलता था राहुल जी ये स्टार्टअप वार्टअप सब बबल है जी, ये सब हवाबाजी है, आप बताओ गॉसिप बताओ दिल्ली में क्या चल रहा है पॉलिटिक्स में या बॉम्बे में बॉलीवुड में, बट ये बातें मत करो. Today that same person is calling me and saying where do I put money, कौन सा कोई अच्छा स्टार्टअप है तो बताओ मैं पैसे लगाना चाहता हूँ. So I think that energy is at the right place at the right time. And of course now we are hosting the G20, the focus is on India. I think it's our time.
So thank you. So Stephen, you have been a part of I think that's right. So you've been a part of an angel network. What is the difference between getting a money from a tier 1 or a tier 2 or a tier 3 angel investors, and what is the role they are doing? What is the difference as a startup founder? ये आंसर जो है वो startup founders के लिए है कि ये क्या differentiator है और क्यों ये human capital में contribute कर रहा है या नहीं कर रहा है? What is the challenge?
नहीं contribute बहुत कर रहा है, to be honest. Let's be honest. So there's nothing wrong in going to a tier 1, tier 2, tier 3 investor to raise money. We primarily work like a flat organization. Everyone is standing equal. Everyone contributes equal. But you as entrepreneur, you need to understand when you're reaching out to any investor as to who's able to actually add a lot of value beyond money, right? That is more important. I mean, would you be able to get to those specific doors where you want to kind of go to scale the company up? It could be through mentorship, it could be through investment, either ways. So, but then that's what I keep telling a lot of entrepreneurs, you need to understand your investor before you actually reach out to him for raising investment eventually. Right, so it's important to understand that piece. The other thing, I'll pick from what Rahul just said, that the gap is of about 8 lakh jobs in the ecosystem, right? And it's a massive number. And it will get impacted only from a tier 2, tier 3 town, to be honest, because metros are anyways overflowing, right? So the impact is going to happen at the tier 2, tier 3, tier 4 level. In that case, a lot of opportunities are opening up. And when you talk about entrepreneur capital, we see a lot of our Series A, sorry, not Series A, but Series B and beyond, and unicorns nowadays are actually stepping into also invest in large enough companies or create employment opportunity, like what just Rahul added on that, right? So it creates employment opportunity at a lower level. That's the value that these entrepreneur capital is actually bringing into the ecosystem and funding the whole ecosystem overall.
Thank you. So, Apu, coming back to you, India has become a third largest ecosystem in the world and among the fastest growing ecosystem. I believe that the transformation has already started for entrepreneurship capital. You being a Singapore fund, you only look for a consumer tech only companies, or why don't you a consumer normal D2C brands? Why only tech?
Thanks for inviting me here. Being in Singapore, we have seen that the tech is emerging very fast, but India remains one of the most important markets. When I say important markets, here as Rahul pointed out, already 107, 106 unicorns are there. The market in total is huge. Whatever you do, you are looking at, even if I take 30% of the population, you are looking at about roughly 100 crore people who are direct consumers of any product or service. And why tech? Because one, it can reach very fast to a large section of people. It is disruptive and scalable at the same point in time. Even if you run a fantastic sweet shop in, say, a locality, you cannot reach the other corner of the city itself. But through technology, you can take orders from different parts of the city and still deliver your sweets. So you don't have to be static at one place. So the tech enables that. It's a great enabler, and at the same time, it gives you the opportunity to scale as well. And we are very focused. So about 50 to 60% of our fund has been deployed in India. Out of the 16 investments, 9 are in India.
Okay.
And we are also going to ramp up a lot of investments come the next fiscal year. So we want to drop down India fund very, very shortly.
So Rahul, coming back to you once again, बहुत सिंपल सा क्वेश्चन है यार कि इंडिया में किसी भी ट्रांसफॉर्म करने के लिए किसी भी इकोसिस्टम में एजुकेशन प्लेज अ बिग रोल, इवेंट्स प्लेज अ बिग रोल, incubator, accelerator, angel network, and the government. So, do you feel any missing component as on today in India, and where we need to focus on?
So I would say honestly, just post-COVID, this year particularly, there is talk of recession in the US. Okay, China is again going into a lockdown. So there is a lot of negativity, and then there's the Ukraine war and all these things. So there's a lot of negativity in the whole world. एक ही जगह पे लाइट शाइन हो रही है, वो है इंडिया. वी आर सेइंग ओके, ये सब तो ठीक है. वी आर स्टिल गोइंग एट 6.25% growth, which is fabulous. We are still seeing a lot of, so see, money is like energy, right? It has to flow somewhere. It will not disappear. So just before all this negative talk, I think the number is debatable. It's either $68 billion of funding was raised by funds in the US to invest in startups. So पैसे already आ चुके हैं. वो पैसा कहीं तो लगेगा. And China, I don't know, whatever reasons, is committing suicide one day after the other. So all that money was earlier going to China, now it's all flowing to emerging markets. And the biggest opportunity is India. So पहले ये होता था, if I would go to New York or I would go to California, they would say, यार इंडिया में ना exits नहीं मिलती है. अब IPOs भी हो रहे हैं. अब
failure हो रहे हैं.
Failures भी हो रहे हैं.
IPOs failure हो रहे हैं, तो मतलब क्या missing component?
I'll tell you, so one thing I have to tell you is failure is an event. It's not a person or a company, right? So Sandro might fail at 20 things. Sandro will never be a failure, because after that failure, he'll learn what not to do. And what we don't understand is in mature ecosystems, and this has happened in India also. So I'll give you an example. There was a startup called Zovi.com, Z-O-V-I. And Safe Partners, which is now Elevation Partners, had put in about $50 million into that company, which was a private label company. And that company failed. And the day they shut down the company, the same founding team got another $50 million from the same fund to do a company called Little.
So my question is still remains the same. Rahul,
So
what is the missing component?
There is
in the
nothing
entire-
missing. It is right now, everything is falling in place. The only thing is, as a country, as a culture, there is still a little bit of hesitation, जो बहुत level पे अभी कम हो गया है, कि पहले माँ बाप बोलते थे नहीं बेटा ये स्टार्टअप वार्टअप बहुत रिस्की है, तू अगर IIM से पढ़ रहा है, IIT से पढ़ ले, पहले कुछ साल नौकरी कर ले, बाद में कुछ साल बाद देख लेना स्टार्टअप वार्टअप का आइडिया, जो ऑफ कोर्स कभी होता नहीं है. बट नाउ द सेम पेरेंट्स आर वाचिंग यंग किड्स रेजिंग मनी ऑन शार्क टैंक, एंड द सेम फादर इज सेइंग इन रायपुर कि बेटा ऐसा कर ले 2-4 साल, स्टार्टअप फेल भी होगा तो नौकरी तो मिल जाएगी.
That's good. So, Stephen, I'll tell you the same question. What according to you has played the larger role to transform to the success stories of 9 to 106, and which area we should focus more, whether it's the incubation, acceleration, angel network, mentorship, or events, or a government initiatives? What is, according to you, is a missing component?
So firstly, I'll answer the first part, which is what is working, right? So I joined IIN in 2013. I keep telling my mentors that, I was at the right time at the right place, because 2014 is when the government changed and there are a lot of ecosystem changes happening, right? And ever since that, there has been an upward curve, a hockey stick curve for the ecosystem overall. Last 3-4 years, it has been significant growths across all sectors.
You mean to say the government is playing the vital role? That's the biggest change?
It is also supporting, right? It is supportive in some means. It is because see, अभी क्या होता था पहले, जैसे going back to what Rahul said, parents बोलते थे कि अच्छा शादी करना है, डॉक्टर या सरकारी जॉब होना चाहिए. आज के डेट में recently one of my friend was looking out for something, and on shadi.com it says looking for an entrepreneur, right, founder. That's a different take altogether, right? There's a change in the mindset of the people, that they're open to kind of look at that risk appetite people. Coming to the second part, in terms of where is the gap, or see, I think everything is working fine, to be honest. And yes, there is a lot of improvement that needs to go in. And one of the main pain points that I see with a lot of people is they still need to learn a lot about the whole investment process, right, as they move along. A lot of entrepreneurs actually end up losing a lot in the very beginning, right? So that's because a proper mentoring is not done. So the point where I see the gap is on the mentor piece of it. Today, anyone who wants to start a startup, where does he go find a mentor? It's a bigger challenge. So मैं entrepreneurs को बोलता हूँ, go on LinkedIn, see in relevant ecosystem, other health tech या तो health tech का कोई successful entrepreneur हो या investor हो, उसको mentor बना लो. But typically it's not that easy, like I say, right? So there should be a platform where you find all these people to kind of come together and kind of support this whole ecosystem. Obviously there should be some benefit to them also, otherwise, there's no skin in the game, to be honest. So that's the only piece. Otherwise, I think everything is working fine.
You mean to say that the mentorship is the biggest, is something which is a missing component in that?
I think mentorship is something that everyone wants, right? Even at
what
a
is
series
the missing
B.
component in the entire journey?
So that's what I'm saying. So it's not that easy. Today, I see, we see at ION about 10,000 startups a year. And at my personal capacity, I see close to about 300, 400 startups in a month, easy, right? Now, when I see that kind of a volume, and I see when they send me the pitch decks, most of them who are actually doing good also don't have mentors on board.
Okay.
Right? That's the missing link, to be honest. Because guidance nahi hai, to fir ek incubator kitna support karega, right? They need some more hands-on support. Not that the incubators are not doing a good job, they're doing a fantastic job. But I think there's more that needs to go in.
Okay. So coming back to you, what is the larger differentiator between Indian ecosystem, startup ecosystem versus a Singapore or a Dubai? Maybe globally you must have experienced some more.
One word that comes to mind is Indian ecosystem is very, very deep. When I say deep, now we get startups not just from the metro cities. There is a huge influx of startups from Indore, Vizag, Pune.
So do you prefer investing in them?
Yes, because our thesis is very simple. People living in the metros are, in terms of data, that data is not going to change. Your email ID, my email ID, Rahul's email ID remains the same. Our consumer behavior patterns is already known. We are already in social media. So what is not there is Bharat's tier 2, tier 3 and rural India's demand right now. That has not been mapped. To answer your question, what is the difference between a Singapore and a India story for that matter? Singapore is, if you see the passport ranking, it is ranked 1. Okay. So for a small country, which is I think in 7-10 kilometer radius from one end to the other, the market is not that big, but whatever they have achieved is phenomenal. Having said that, India is almost at the same stage what US was around 1960s and 70s. Sequoia, Bessemer, Matrix, they all popped up at that round of time. And we have gone through the 3 cycles. Now it is the 4th cycle, which I call the growth cycle. First cycle was what is a startup, which was like the Flipkarts of the world in 2008. Second was whether you can raise large capital to actually tap into the market, where Policy Bazaar, Zomato, Paytm came into play. Third was, can you show me an exit where Flipkart sold to Walmart, Paytm and Policy Bazaar and Zomato and Nykaa moved towards an IPO. Now it is the path to profitability, and in the last session we were talking about Zoho. Zerodha and Zoho are classic examples. They are bootstrapped companies, even Freshdesk for that matter. They went a bumper IPO in the New York Stock Exchange. See, anywhere across the world, people are sitting with money. Funding winter is there only when you are cutting a 100 million check, because that is Series C onwards.
Do you see any change in the mindset of a founder? That's
yes, yes, valuations are coming down. It is becoming more reasonable. People know what they are asking for. Yeah, I mean, it's not just, see, for us also, it's value for money, right? We are investing in the, we are investing in the jockey. I mean, see, you can come up with 10 ideas to me. If you don't have the capabilities to execute, the money will go down the drain. And that is where the point that Sandro made is very, very important, that we also end up looking at same number of decks. The unfortunate part is that very talented people in, say, smaller towns and cities who can actually make a difference are trying to solve a problem. They need mentorship. They need guidance. Somebody guides them, boss, आपको 10 करोड़ रुपया raise करना चाहिए at 10% dilution, आपका company 100 crores का है. उस बेचारे का revenue ही 10 लाख का है. ठीक है, और उसको 10 करोड़ रेस कराने के चक्कर में उसका 40%
और अगर उसने रेस कर भी लिया तो अगला राउंड नहीं हो पाएगा, मतलब कहीं ना कहीं वो बॉटलनेक हो जाता है.
And in the last session, another very good point was made. You have to invest in team.
Yes.
You should have another co-founder. इसका 2 रीज़न मैं बताता हूँ. One is obviously अगर difficult times में आपके घर में कोई mishap होता है, आपकी तबीयत खराब होती है, there is another person to look after the company. So whenever you are looking at great startups, they always have a 2-3 member core team which is very supportive. And of course, एक problem solve कीजिए, सबसे important. If there is no need, don't reinvent the wheel. Okay? It is very, very
But
important.
don't you feel, Apu, there's a big market? When I say, you say anything Flipkart or Amazon, there's an example, giving case example, India is a huge consumer market. 5-10 players can easily play around with it.
If you look at the numbers, आज की डेट में भी India's online e-commerce penetration is what, 13-14%? 85-86% is still mom and pop stores and offline. Okay?
That's why I'm saying.
Right. What do they require? आप ये नहीं बोल सकते हो कि I will convert everything on online, because although your tech has proliferated, you have smartphones, you have data which is very cheap, but there are certain categories which require look and feel, which and the ticket size is so small that the unit economics will not play out, even if you are doing an inventory-based model.
Yeah.
I just want to add something here. So in fact, when we talked about the market share and the tech piece, very interesting fact. Abhi Black Friday hua tha,
Right.
And one of my friend, he saw some news on the TV stating that US stores are lying vacant. There is no footfall. But surprisingly, online, US had hit the maximum of 9.12 billion sale in a day. That's the highest ever.
Fantastic.
Right? So, I mean, there is a different picture altogether, offline versus online. But then that piece is also growing significantly.
So that's good. So changing topic, Rahul, to transform India to an unstoppable, power technically for entrepreneurship, incubators and accelerators plays a big role. So first of all, from your definition, do you feel that the education institute incubators are good enough, or the private should move in more? From a startup founder perspective, you just give me a clarity on your understanding between incubator and accelerator.
Honestly,
What they're supposed to accept from the incubator accelerators.
So I'm a product of an incubator. I'm a 7-month baby. तो मैं 7वें महीने में पैदा हो गया था. तो जब मैं पैदा हुआ तो 24 घंटे तो चांस भी नहीं था कि मैं बचूंगा नहीं, तो मुझे उठा के इंक्यूबेटर में डाल दिया और अभी यहाँ बैठा हूँ 50 साल बाद. तो incubators do work. I'm the living testimony of that. See, when you have an idea in your head and you have no clue, is it a feasible idea? Will Sandro cut me a check, or all of that? You want to go to somebody, and a lot of times you might not have access to that network of who do I go and ask. So an incubation is a great place to go and get a validation of an idea. Secondly, most of us don't have just one idea, right? We have multiple ideas. So then, kaun se idea pe kaam karna chahiye? And there, I love this thing which Toshan Tamane said, that what you have to understand is what is the game which is most valuable. So what simple question was, which is the number one sport in India? Cricket. Who's the number one cricketer in India right now? विराट कोहली. कितने पैसे कमाता है विराट कोहली एवरेज साल के? 500 करोड़. Who's the number 20th player in cricket? जो भी हो, कितने पैसे कमाता होगा? 10 करोड़, 15 करोड़ साल के. Now look at the number 2 sport in India. It's either hockey or football. How much is the number 1 guy in hockey or football? वो पैसे कितने कमाता है? Probably जो क्रिकेट में 20वें नंबर पे वो जितना कमाता है उससे कम कमाता है. एफर्ट और टैलेंट में वो क्रिकेटर से कम नहीं है, बट ही इज प्लेइंग अ गेम विच इज नॉट दैट वैल्यूएबल. सो फॉर अ स्टार्टअप यू माइट बी पुटिंग द राइट एफर्ट, यू माइट बी पुटिंग द उतना ही मेहनत कर रहे हो आप, बट अगर आप वो गेम खेल रहे हो जिसके पैसे नहीं बन रहे हैं ना, तो आपको उतने पैसे मिलेंगे. सो एन इंक्यूबेटर विल हेल्प यू अंडरस्टैंड व्हाट गेम टू प्ले. दैट्स वन. Then mentorship of course makes a huge difference, right? So again I'll give you example of cricket. MS धोनी, महेंद्र सिंह धोनी स्कूल में फुटबॉल खेलता था, गोलकीपर था. अब एक टीचर ने उसको देखा फुटबॉल खेलते हुए, अच्छा कैच पकड़ता है, उसको बोला बेटा तू ये फुटबॉल छोड़, तू गोल की विकेट कीपर बन जा क्रिकेट में. तो सेम स्किल सेट को उसने ट्रांसफर कर दिया इनटू न्यू गेम एंड ही बिकेम धोनी. अगर फुटबॉल खेल रहा होता तो शायद अच्छा खेल रहा होता, बट वो धोनी नहीं होता. तो ये एक मेंटोर का रोल होता है कि आप जो भी खेल रहे हो, मेंटोर विल कम एंड गिव यू अ पर्सपेक्टिव which might just scale your life. That's incubation.
And just to, I'll quick interject, just to add to what he's saying, see, it's very important to know what not to do. In life, you can make money only two ways. One, to know first, or to ensure that you have a first mover advantage. Okay? Think first, and you have a first mover advantage. Execute first. So, not necessarily you will know your own strength. Very few people who know their strength are really successful people. And कहाँ पे ठोकर लग सकती है रास्ते में, कहाँ बेंड है, अगर आपको कोई बता देगा तो आपको आपका गाड़ी ओवरटर्न होने से पहले जो 2 घंटे आपको पीछे लेके जा सकता है, यू विल बी सेव्ड ऑन दैट टाइम. सो incubators, accelerators and mentors, ये तीन, for a fund like us also we really trust pitches which comes from incubation centers and accelerators, क्योंकि वो vetted होंगे, it will be properly written and use case will be properly depicted. वो बहुत, क्योंकि for you must understand one thing, you only get 30 minutes with an investor. If you don't
30 minutes.
I mean, if
Depends on the investor.
if I'm sitting free, otherwise.
Sushil will probably give you 3 days in
Yeah.
Jodhpur.
Yeah, but usually it will be like 10 minutes, 15 minutes.
So you mean
So
to say that to all the founders that going and approaching via or maybe referred via incubation or acceleration is a preference?
Founder should be a hustler. उसको हर टाइम
तो फाउंडर हो गया, वो हसलर हो गया, वो तो खत्म हो गया.
नहीं
उसमें
तो
नहीं है.
it works both ways ना. If he's going to you, he should hustle to get into your incubation. Then you should be a hustler to push me to look at the deal and invest. Or if he's smart enough, he should push me directly. And social media has so much of presence. Like LinkedIn is the best platform. I mean apart from, I'm not a Meta user, neither I'm a Twitter user, but LinkedIn is there. LinkedIn mein you can reach anybody anywhere in the world and write your story. If you are writing it properly, you will get an audience.
So Stephen, coming to one question. So there is a lot of efforts going on for a school, startups at a school level from state. Do you agree on this part, or do you want to invest in that area, or what will that matter in converting this transformation of entrepreneurship in India?
Well, it's a seeding ground, to be honest. That's how I look at it. Because, you can't really, somebody who's learned a certain way in his life all throughout his school journey and college journey, and then after college you ask him to get into entrepreneurship. But if you start seeding them at the school level, the thought kind of keeps resonating with them. So they have a clear picture by the time they're hitting the college as to some extent, what they want to do. Whether they want to be in a job line or a entrepreneurship line, that kind of gives them some sort of clarity कि हाँ मैं employer बन सकता हूँ या employee बन सकता हूँ. वो एक mindset clarity मिलता है.
The one missing component which was like entrepreneurship at the school level is what going to help in the times to go for the colleges
Future.
and then the incubation center. So there are how many founders here, startup founders in the hall? Okay, great. आप में से कितने लोगों के e-shops pool बनाया हुआ है? ईमानदारी से बताना भाई. Okay. So Apu, this question is to you. When you go and invest in a company, is that matter or not?
It matters because I'll tell you.
Is matters for you? Rahul, it matters?
Absolutely.
Okay, now please.
It matters because you are putting the trust in your team members. If you are giving even one share to a person whom you feel is adding value, and that is reflected on the cap table, that is a great validation that you are my team, you are my most critical member, and I believe in your efforts, and I am rewarding you with the share.
Okay. Another question with you. The startup founders, जितने भी startup founders हैं, उसमें से अगर if given a choice, एक आदमी 10% dilute करके आपको पैसा देना चाहता है, और 10 लोग 1% पैसा देना चाहते हैं. So, what's your take? Whether we should take it from 10 people or 1 people is a very, very important question. It is because...
So 10 people investing for the same amount of share
10%
versus
liquidation
1%
at seed level, 10 people writing 10 checks, and 1 person writing for 10% equity. What is the choice of what should be the choice of a founder?
Well, honestly, it depends on who's coming in, right? But if
तो गर्लफ्रेंड आने से पहले तो सभी अच्छी लगती है यार, आने के बाद वो
नहीं वो तो फिर सी थोड़ा प्री डेटिंग करते हैं ना, तो वो तो करना पड़ेगा in order to understand that you know who's coming in.
So Apu, what is your call on this? What is your, as a second level of investment which is comes after, you know, pre-series A, or kind of, what is your preference? What kind of startups you prefer? And if you're a founder, what's your stage? This is the next question to you.
Money has to be money plus plus. If somebody is just putting money, deploying money and not helping you, all the effort is your effort. I always believe that take the money from the person who first understands the business. He will not ask you questions every 6 months ki kya ho raha hai. He should believe in the business. Second thing is, he should be also able to help to open some doors. Either product diversification ke liye, ya geographic expansion ke liye, ya team hiring ke liye. Because these are more very important things when you start growing. When it is an initial part, you can get the money because that is a very early stage. Product validation नहीं होता है, वो trust पे चलता है. लेकिन once you are moving up, you are building a larger organization, it is very, very important that it has to be money plus plus. If you just take money, that person's only objective would be to get a return. But if you are taking money plus plus, there is a higher probability of you also succeeding.
So I'm talking about startup coming to a fund or startup coming to an angel network, by the way.
I'll give you a story here. 2013-14 there were two hot startups in the co-living or that space. One was given $5 million by Tiger, which was at that time bigger than SoftBank, Leaf Excel. The other was given by a that time unknown fund, Bejul Somaya, Lightspeed. Okay. This side, the company's name is no, not Zostel. Oyo and Zorooms. So Zorooms had founders from IITs, like 4 or 5 founders, very smart people, funded by Tiger, $5 million. This side is a school dropout from a छोटा सा गांव कटक के आसपास के कोई गांव से बच्चा आया था जो स्कूल के बाद पढ़ा नहीं था और उसको $5 million दिए थे by a that time not sexy fund called Lightspeed. Who would you bet on? You would have bet on Zorooms, right? And what's happened? Oyo is whatever it is and Zo doesn't exist anymore. I'm not saying, one of the key reasons is Ritesh Agarwal was the first person to get accepted for what is called the Peter Thiel Scholarship. So for those of you who don't know, Peter Thiel is a Silicon Valley billionaire who was partners with Elon Musk in something called PayPal. And he has a foundation where he gives $100,000 to school children to drop out of school and become an entrepreneur. Because he genuinely believes that formal education spoils you for entrepreneurship. And Ritesh was the first person from Asia to qualify for that scholarship. And what happened when he went there, he got mentored by the best brains in Silicon Valley. If you ask me honestly, that is what made the difference in who Ritesh is as a person. So what Apu is saying or what Sandro is saying, when you say money plus plus का मतलब है, एक होता है कि अगर आप बोलते हो 10% गुप्ता जी दे रहे हो, बोलते बेटा पैसा ले ले, बाकी मुझे नहीं पता, most probably वो पैसा थैले में आएगा, cash में, versus 10 people, 1% is a Kunal Shah and Ritesh Agarwal and all these guys, I would go with those 10 people.
Okay. So we'll not take it more because we were on the time. So Rahul, on a final call, what is your say? So one important thing before having a communication, because I've been dealing with the startup founders. So one role, the biggest mistake the founders do at the early stage when they receive the seed funding is not doing a legal compliance, is a legal agreement. So this is, Apu, do you have this any statement on this?
See, whenever you are building, simple बात है कि आप किसी भी building का first floor नहीं बनाते. आप building का plinth रखते हो, basement बनाते हो, उसके बाद floors ऊपर खींचते हो, ठीक है? So whenever you are doing any startup or any entity, it has to be legally compliant. क्योंकि बड़ा पैसा जब आप raise करने जाओगे, this becomes a serious red flag. So it's basic things. It's almost like आप अपने बिजली का बिल भरते हो, आप अपना ओबर का ये वाटर बिल भरते हो, नहीं तो लाइन कट जाती है. So when you are starting up, you should always make sure all your agreements are in place. Because suppose, usually what we have seen is it starts with 3 founders, फिर एक को मन भर जाता है, बोलता है कि मेरे घर में बहुत प्रेशर है, I have to leave. If you don't have a founders agreement in place, then he will stick around on the cap table.
कितने startups ने founders agreement किया हुआ है? नहीं यार, seriously. If
I
this
am
is
also
there,
very
I'm impressed because usually I think founders agreement छोड़ो, लोग angel investors का agreement नहीं करते हैं. कितने लोगों ने angels investors से जिनसे पैसा लिया उनके साथ agreement नहीं किया है? देखो इतना fast भी नहीं होना चाहिए यार. Okay, so I think these are some of the very, very important aspects. E-shops is a very important aspect. Having a legal agreement within the co-founders. Actually, to be honest, this is the biggest challenge which we are facing as on today when we invest in a startup, because there is no agreement. After 2 years, after 6 months of working, one founder feels I don't want to work. And he has a significant capital in his account. No investor will come and write a check if one of the founders is not working. So I think these are some of the very, very important key roles which you have to play, and those roles can only be played by a incubator and accelerator, and then the people like angel networks or funds will always prefer to get a startup from a incubation acceleration, which will be a transforming, which will play a big role in transforming India into a unstoppable power. So Rahul, any conclusive statement from you or any suggestions to the startup?
The only pain point I have since I've been traveling for the last 20 years across small town India especially was networking is not a transactional thing. So with all due respect to founders, I go, I meet, I speak at a lot of events in small towns. The typical pattern is after an event, all of us will get friend requests on social media. People will start following us, liking our posts, our wives' posts, our kids' posts, and then there is an ask. Okay, and with all due respect, unfortunately, most people say mentoring, all they mean is funding de do yaar. So jab tak they have hope that we will do something for them, we are their elder brother, we are an inspiration, XYZ, the day the hope goes away, 99% of the network vanishes to the next person. And it's very dumb. So in my 20 years, 6 specific times it's happened to me, Appu, that I have met some founder in say Indore, I like the person, for that moment I could not do something for that person. And that person has vanished from my network, and many months later I'm sitting with Sushil in Jodhpur, he said, Rahul bhai, ये sector में कोई अच्छा startup बताओ, मेरे को पैसे देने. बोलता हाँ यार वो लड़का मिला था इंदौर में, अब उसका नाम याद नहीं आ रहा. Because he's not bothered, she's not bothered to stay in touch. Second, when Appu was saying you want to go on LinkedIn and you want to approach somebody, please do not do this dumb thing of sending a friend request, then saying, hello sir. Then I say hello, then you say, how are you sir? On an average, I get 470 messages a day. I'm sure all of these guys get a lot of it. अब वो 470 में से यार तुमको हाई पॉइंट पे आ जाओ. सर मैं ये हूँ, मेरे को आपसे ये हेल्प चाहिए. Immediate I can take an action. हाँ सर तेरे को इससे कनेक्ट करना है, ये करना है, नहीं करना है. Make it very clear, as I said, to the point, and don't waste people's time. So the 2 key takeaways: networking is not transactional. First, learn to give. The universe will give it back to you. Okay. 2 is, whenever you are reaching out to anybody, please be very specific and what is called a call to action wala messages rakho. We respect such people a lot.
So Rahul,
सिर्फ कनेक्ट बटन नहीं है, उसमें ऐड नोट भी होता है. ऐड नोट में यू कैन राइट योर इंट्रोडक्शन, अ स्मॉल इंट्रोडक्शन 2 लाइन का, एंड व्हाट यू रिक्वायर. बिलीव मी, यू विल गेट अ फॉर्मल रिस्पॉन्स. अगर सिर्फ कनेक्ट दबाइएगा तो ऐड तो हो जाएगा, फिर वो द सेम थिंग्स विल फॉलो.
So Rahul, you had a wonderful journey, multiple experiences investing, starting your own startup. So I think as there are good number of startup founders and they say they have a formal co-founders agreement too. So what are the suggestions you want to give that ये नहीं करना चाहिए? These are the biggest mistake they are not supposed to do as a startup founder.
Don't drown your investor in data. So मेरे को बच्चे मिलते हैं जिनको लगता है यार अभी मेरे को सैंड्रो का टाइम मिल गया, मैं इसको पीपीटी में इतना सारा इन्फॉर्मेशन दे दूंगा कि बस अभी चेक काट देगा मेरे को. What you have to understand is investors are also human beings. Okay, and most of us think that funding decisions happen from here. Almost every decision that I have made in life happens from here. We use this to justify why we did it. So when you're looking to reach out to an investor, it's a teaser. Get them to get an idea of what you're doing. Keep it very brief because everybody's attention span. Your idea is to get them to do a follow-up meeting with you where if they ask you questions, then you give them all the. अभी क्या होता है पिछले में इतना डेटा आता है कि आदमी कंफ्यूज हो जाता है ये बोलना क्या चाह रहा है भाई. So again remember, cognitive is important, but do a bit of homework. I think he was speaking very brilliantly that they built 2 products without realizing कि जो वो 20 साल के इंजीनियर को समझ आ रहा है शायद ट्रक ड्राइवर को नहीं समझ आ रहा है. Or I love this Jabong example, right? So I'm saying is a lot of times you have to go out, talk to people. A lot of people sit in a silo and do what is called Excel sheet thinking. और Excel sheet में ना बॉस बहुत पैसे बन जाते हैं. Formula tweak कर दो कभी भी profitable होता है. As an investor, what we look for is, especially what I look for rather, is वो Excel sheet में जो amount है उसको बैंक अकाउंट में डालने में जो फटती है, that is entrepreneurship. So we look at a potential entrepreneur and say, do you have it in you to translate this from here to here? That's all we look for. And all the questions that we ask you, all the cognitive stuff we ask is we are trying to figure out whether you have it in you or not. And that's, to a large extent, is not a hard thing, it's a soft thing.
You mean to say that you precise your presentation in a...
See, a presentation, when you're doing reaching out for the first time, to first do your homework. A lot of people do what is called the spray and pray model. कि एक pitch deck बनाया, LinkedIn पे गए, सबको भेज दिया, shut. Without realizing कि यार वो अपू का fund तो इस sector में डालता ही नहीं पैसे. ठीक है? And when you're talking, it takes a little bit of work where you go specifically, if you have done your homework, if you reach out and you look at Appu and say, he's not probably responding. But he knows Sushil. So can I reach out to Sushil and ask Sushil, sir, can you please recommend me to Appu? Then the probability of him looking at you is much higher. क्योंकि किसी के through आया हुआ है. And then do a bit of study. Say, you know what, Appu sir, you had invested in this company, आपको exit मिला था. I'm in the same space. It makes a lot of difference. But unfortunately, हमारे केस में क्या होता है, especially small towns में, हम देखते हैं यार, मेरे को बहुत बच्चे आके बोलते हैं, अरे सर, मेरा मॉडल तो ओयो भी इतना लॉसेस कर रहा है, मैं भी लॉसेस कर रहा हूँ, तो फिर मेरे को क्यों नहीं वैल्यूएशन मिल रही है? ठीक है? Second is, all of us look at Elon Musk and say, हाँ यार, ये साला arrogant है, बहुत attitude मारता है. So I meet a lot of kids with the swagger of an Elon Musk. मैं बोलता भाई उसका वर्क एथिक भी कर लो, वो 4 कंपनीज चला रहा है, सोता नहीं है, मेहनत कर रहा है, मेहनत तो कर लो. So
that's it. So Appu, what's your suggestion? What is the biggest mistake the founders should not do while their journey of entrepreneurship?
There are 5 critical factors of starting up. Very simple. Who you are, what are you trying to solve, what is the instrument you are going to use. When I say instrument, product या service क्या offer कर रहे हो, आपका target market कितना बड़ा है और क्या उसको आप खुद खरीदोगे कि नहीं. The biggest validation is, that is where the reinventing the wheel question is answered. There is something called a need, there is something called a want. Want is not a business. Need is a business. Need मतलब होता है इस सामान या इस सर्विस की ज़रूरत है, या अगर आपके दिमाग में ये चल रहा है कि ये होगा तो भी चलेगा. That is not a startup.
Is all about...
One thing I want to add here, a brand who can convert a want into a need, like Apple. iPhone is not a need, but लोग किड्डी बेच के iPhone ले रहे हैं, right? If you can do that, I mean, you're a...
No, when Apple started, to answer your question, Apple started because Walkman बहुत बड़ा होता था. So Steve Jobs ने बोला कि मैं इतना बड़ा Walkman लेके नहीं घूम सकता. I want my music in a small iPod. फिर iPod जब आया तब उसको लगा कि ये तो अगर गाना इतना स्टोर कर सकता है तो डेटा भी स्टोर करेगा. That is how iPhone came into play. So that is where the need is very important. What are you trying to solve? And if it is, and if it was 90s, people said मुझे नहीं पता ऐसा कंपनी और भी है कि नहीं. But today you have Google.
मेरा क्वेश्चन जो था ना वो था एंटरप्रेन्योरशिप जर्नी को लेके. प्रोडक्ट बनाना चाहिए, अच्छा प्रोडक्ट बनाना चाहिए.
नहीं तो एंटरप्रेन्योरशिप जर्नी में सबसे
जैसे एग्जांपल मैंने राहुल ने एग्जांपल दिया कि लिंक्डइन पे आप अप्रोच करो तो ऐसे करो. ये बहुत सारी मिस्टेक्स होती हैं जो हम लोगों ने शायद अपनी ज़िंदगी में बहुत ज़्यादा की है, राइट? तो आई थिंक मतलब इसके रेफरेंस से मैं आपका पूछना चाह रहा था कि भाई उनका जैसे मैंने एग्जांपल लिया कि लीगल एग्रीमेंट नहीं होता है, कैपिटल मैनेजमेंट नहीं होते, कैपिटल को लोग पावर देते ही नहीं है ना. तो आई थिंक दिस इज व्हाट इज
सी मोस्ट इम्पॉर्टेंट फाउंडर के लिए जो इम्पोर्टेंट है, एक दूसरा कैपेबल कॉम्प्लीमेंट्री स्किल सेट का फाउंडर ढूंढना चाहिए. सबसे इम्पोर्टेंट चीज़ तो ये है. If you are a geek, find a business guy. If you are a business guy, find a techie.
So if I give you an example, if I am a single co-founder, I'm a single founder, I have given e-shops to 5 of my people, I've given a 5% e-shop pool. Will you consider this as a co-founder or not?
Yes, but you have to write co-founder. You can't just give and say कि boss तुम मेरे employee हो. Then you have to give the co-founder status.
0.5%. This is a question I'm asking you very, very clearly, because if there are three employees, team members in my company, and they hold 0.5, and they write a co-founder. Do you agree on this?
No.
Then what is?
No, that means that is optics. He is right, because see, if you
So
are
what is the solution to this problem? Give me this. There are so many co-found. There are people who go out.
there is a vesting structure. There is something called vesting. Over a period of time, if the person becomes more critical, see, हर कोई is not a finished product. Sometimes they require training, hand holding. So as a founder, very important है कि you empower people. Once you empower people, there is a high probability that they will either fail or succeed. If they succeed, you have a second line of defense.
Also, a lot of times we get hung up कि मेरे को तो इतना %, मेरे पास majority रहना चाहिए, ठीक है? That's a dumb aspiration to have, okay? If you have 10% of $1 billion company, that's way better than having 100% of a 10 crore company, okay? And when you say co-founder, that's
But
a very
Rahul,
powerful
that's a
title.
stage. What stage you're talking about? That's
See, again,
all
it's a
about-
very subjective thing. There are companies who have made employees co-founder later because of their contribution. Okay, but of course, but I'm saying when you say, so you bring in Stephen tomorrow into your company and say, I think Stephen can add super fuel, मेरे को यहाँ से यहाँ लेके जा सकता है. You say, ठीक है boss, मेरा जो भी है ये ले, 20% ले, 30% ले, मैं तेरे को दे रहा हूँ. That is a big vote of confidence that you're putting, and then he will give his life to make sure that, because that thing is worth what? वो तो Excel sheet में एक number है ना यार कि 20% है. उसकी value तो तब बदलाव होगी जब वो कुछ बनेगा.
हायर करने का सबसे इम्पॉर्टेंट ट्रिक है, यू कीप द फिक्स्ड कॉम्पनसेशन लेस एंड गिव हाई सॉप्स. उससे क्या होगा कि आपको समझ में आ जाएगा कि वो पैसे के लिए काम कर रहा है या उसका विजन और पैशन इज सेम.
So Stephen, coming back to you, because you are the one who has handled the maximum number of startups in India among all. I think you, Rahul, you've had more number of experiences. So, any 5 points which you wanted to highlight or you want to give, which is the biggest mistake the founder is not supposed to do?
So I think, I keep going to a lot of incubators and giving this presentation of what investors don't like, and I'll put that across right now. So if you have an incomplete team, माने कि 2 founders हैं, दोनों जॉब भी कर रहे हैं और ये साइड बाय साइड कर रहे हैं, that's not done. ये हो सकता है कि आप ये बोलो कि one guy is full time, the other will come in the moment you give me the funding. I'll still buy that, right? But then there has to be some dedication from the other end also. ये नहीं कि वो पूरा ही जॉब कर रहा है और इन्वॉल्व भी नहीं है कंपनी के साथ. So that's incomplete team. Incomplete product. What it means is that, if you have a product where you don't have a market validation, you theoretically feel that this product will make a difference in people's life, but when you hit the market, the product doesn't do that, right? So the market validation is very important. Whether it's a paid pilot or a free pilot, doesn't matter. But if it's a paid pilot, I'll happily look at it more. One very important thing that I keep telling a lot of entrepreneurs is, investors typically invest in the founder and then the idea. The idea is a diamond dozen, but founders are like one in unique, right? So 1 in 100 or 1 in thousands. So it's not easy to kind of find the right mindset. So, and moreover, when we look at the when we look at the entrepreneur, one very important factor that we kind of do look in is the entrepreneur mentorable or not. ये नहीं होना चाहिए कि tomorrow he takes money from me and he's doing what he feels like doing and not actually be responsible enough. So he should be mentorable, he should be open to take suggestions. इसका ये मतलब नहीं है कि जो investor बोल रहा है वही करते जाओ, मैं वो भी नहीं बोलता. But at the same time, what I keep telling a lot of entrepreneurs is that if you have a thought which is different from an investor who's sitting on your board of the company or who's coming in with the money, then in that case you can put your thoughts across. There could be differences in opinion, which is fine. You can debate over it. But the debate should not get into an argument. That's where you cross the line, right? So there are ways to handle it. I'm not saying that every investor is same or every entrepreneur is same, but just that these are the few parameters which any investor would actually look at. And ये आपकी presentation में नहीं है. These are purely based on one-on-one discussion. Based on that, I do analysis whether you are someone who will be looking at me as a mentor also or not. Or my investors who are backing me up.
So I'll also add on some points in this journey, because I think I have made the maximum failures in my life. So I think first is, my suggestion is the co-founders agreement. Second, according to me, is a first investors agreement, because on the day first when you receive agreement. Third, going to an incubator at the right stage, going to the accelerator at the right stage. At least one of the founders should have more than 50% equity. किसी एक आदमी की 51, 52, 53 मतलब एक ज़्यादा होनी चाहिए, ताकि कंपनी में CEO एक ही होता है. जब मल्टीपल होते हैं तो उसमें फेलियर्स होने के चांसेस सबसे ज़्यादा होते हैं. Second, you must choose your first 1 to 5 investors, because first few investors in your company will give you a direction, motivation, planning, roadmap. I think that's very important. And the time you feel that they are not important in your life, if they are not contributing the way because the valuation are not important, in the first angel round is supposed to be from angels only, right? So I think ये कुछ 4-5 मुझे चीज़ें लगती है, और अगर कोई नहीं कंट्रीब्यूट कर रहा है तो उसे वापस लेने में भी हेजिटेट मत करो, because your speed is supposed to be fast. Now Rahul, any specific story which is motivating, which you wanted to share with the audience by and large? And
so when people ask me what is a startup, I mean startup is nothing. It's a
so I'll give you a small. I'll share you a story. When I was starting Marwadi Catalyst on the, so I had something in my mind. I invited Rahul also to be at my place. We sat on the rooftop of my building, and almost for 2 days, for 8 hours we discussed, and the roadmap was very clear. And that's what we have done, like 3 years, 50 plus portfolio, creating ourselves as an accelerator. So there's a lot which gives you motivation. So those days we can't miss. So I just want to share something of that.
So यार basically देखो धंधा है, startup भी धंधा है, offline धंधा भी धंधा है. The basic difference is two words, speed and scale. तो अगर आप एक परचून की दुकान चला रहे हो तो आपको पता है आप 12.5% हर साल थोड़ा थोड़ा ग्रोथ करते रहोगे. Beyond the point वो ग्रो नहीं कर सकता, उतना ही रहेगा. उसमें cash flow is your prime motivation. Startup is about two words, speed and scale, which is you grow very fast, and in a startup you are okay to say कि अगले 10 साल तक मैं profit नहीं कमाऊंगा, but then मैं इस कैटेगरी का बाप बन जाऊंगा, like a Flipkart or a Uber or a Paytm. So the most classic definition is Uber का जब IPO आया था in the US, उनके prospectus में लिखा था, we don't know if we will ever make money. अब एक ट्रेडिशनल बिजनेसमैन बोलेगा साला खुद बोल रहा है कि कभी शायद पैसे कमाएगा ही नहीं लाइफ में, बट क्या वैल्यू थी आईपीओ की? $84 बिलियन, बिकॉज उबर चेंज ह्यूमन बिहेवियर. आज हर कोई ओला उबर हम यूज करते हैं, राइट? और फिर पैसे किसी और तरीके से कमाते हैं, ठीक है? बट यू आर ऑल यंग फाउंडर्स, राइट? सो लोग बोलते हैं स्टार्टअप में क्या, स्टार्टअप अलग क्या करता है? स्टार्टअप एक चीज को देखता है जो दुनिया देख रही है और उसमें से कुछ एक नया पर्सपेक्टिव निकालता है और उस पर एक्शन लेता है. सो आई अगेन गिव माई फेवरेट स्टार्टअप स्टोरी, ओयो. सो सेम टाइम जोरूम्स, ओयो, दोनों के पास $5-5 मिलियन बैंक में पड़े, और उनका बिजनेस मॉडल क्या है? वो जाते थे एक छोटे बजट होटल के पास, बोलते थे भाई साहब आपका बुकिंग हम कराएंगे, बाहर हमारा बोर्ड लगा दो. तो सारे होटल वाले बोलते थे ठीक है भाई, मेरे को कुछ मिनिमम गारंटी दे दे कि साल के इतने पैसे देगा, तो लगा ले बाहर ओयो का बोर्ड, मुझे फर्क नहीं पड़ता. अब दोनों ने उस टाइम पे क्या स्ट्रैटेजी करी थी कि वी विल हैव अ वाइडर फुटप्रिंट. तो एक ओयो होटल दिल्ली में है, एक भुवनेश्वर में, एक पटना में है, करके ऑल ओवर इंडिया हम दिखाएंगे कि हम नेशनल प्लेयर है. बट अब दोनों के पास सेम पैसे हैं, दोनों का आइडिया भी सेम है, एग्जीक्यूशन भी सेम है. तो एक पॉइंट पे आके रितेश को या तो किसी मेंटोर ने ज्ञान दिया या उसकी अपना ट्यूबलाइट जला कि मेरे को ये पैटर्न तोड़ना है, मैं कैसे दुनिया को बताऊं कि मैं जो से ज्यादा तेज भाग रहा हूं, मैं बेटर कंपनी हूं. तो उसने कहा ये स्ट्रैटेजी चेंज करते हैं. उन्होंने एक एरिया उठाया, महिपालपुर क्रॉसिंग, अगर आपको पता है तो दिल्ली एयरपोर्ट से आते आपको सामने इतनी सारी 300-400 छोटे छोटे होटल्स हैं. उसने अपनी टीम को भेजा महिपालपुर क्रॉसिंग में, और सारे होटल वालों को जाके एक ही चीज बोली कि भाई साहब आपसे काम करना है, आपका पूरा होटल छोड़ दो, क्योंकि 15-20 कमरे का है, बट एक कमरे को मैं अंडरराइट कर रहा हूं कि इसके पूरे साल का पैसा आप मेरे से ले लो, अभी 25% आपको एडवांस दे रहा हूं, बट एक ही कंडीशन है, बाहर ओयो का बोर्ड लगना चाहिए. ठीक है, पैसे मिल रहे हैं. अब क्या हो गया, ओवरनाइट अपू फ्लाइज इन फ्रॉम सिंगापुर, इसकी फ्लाइट से निकलता है, टैक्सी में बैठता है, जैसे ही महिपालपुर क्रॉसिंग आ रहा है और उसको क्रॉस करना है, ये दिल्ली जाना है, गुड़गांव जाना है, सामने उसको क्या दिख रहा है? ओयो 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 भरा पड़ा है. अब इसके माइंड में क्या, यार ये कंपनी बड़ी फास्ट ग्रो कर रही है इतने ओयो के बोर्ड से. दिस इज अ हैक. आई एम नॉट सेइंग दैट्स द ओनली थिंग, बट इफ यू लुक एट द ओयो जर्नी, दिस स्मॉल हैक्स दैट इट डिड. अच्छा ये नहीं था कि ये जो को नहीं दिख रहा था या वो लोग कम स्मार्ट थे, बट सेम डेटा को देख के उन्होंने एक अपना अलग दिमाग लगाया, उतने ही पैसे में एक बेटर परसेप्शन क्रिएट किया. सो स्टार्टअप्स इज अबाउट लुकिंग एट डेटा दैट एवरीबडी एल्स इज लुकिंग एंड सेइंग हाँ यार इसमें से कुछ एक अलग सॉल्यूशन में निकालता हूं. दैट्स ऑल अ स्टार्टअप इज.
So, Stephen, one important question. How many startups say you something and do the same thing when they come for a fundraising?
So,
And is do you advise them to do it? Because that's business as sab chalta hai.
in companies that we invested, right? That's what you're referring to.
Maybe your experience, what?
So companies where we invested in, what we see on day one as a plan is not what we see at the time of exit. That's clear, right? It's very probably 1 in a lakh could be a scenario where something like that would really work. But most of the time we've not seen that happening. So there's always a pivot that happens, which is good in some means, I would say.
मेरा
So,
आंसर क्वेश्चन ये नहीं था. पिविट करना तो जब वो सच कुछ है, पर
हाँ.
मेरा कहने का मतलब है फाउंडर जब अपना रोड मैप बनाते हैं तो बताते कुछ है और जो उनको ही मालूम होता है मैं नहीं करूँगा.
नहीं ऐसा नहीं है. हम लोग फिर नहीं. That's like too unrealistic, to be honest. We come in with a certain mindset where the entrepreneur demonstrate a certain model where they say कि हाँ ये मेरे इतने customers हैं, 1,000 customers are actively engaged on my platform. This is what the business looks like and this is where we're gonna go. So it's very clear to where the founder is headed. हम उसको हाथ पकड़ के नहीं चलते हैं, वो हमारे को साथ लेके चलता है. So it's in a way partnership that we work with and it goes well with that mode. Future में जाके obviously there are changes to which will happen, which is bound to happen, which is okay. And that's what we love about entrepreneurship, right? Are you open to pivot? That's the mindset that you should carry. Getting stuck with your idea is also fine if somebody feels that strongly about it. But I mean, most of the time you need to change with the environment.
So the last question, Apu, any specific case study which you want to share from any tier 2 market from India which you have invested and grown good?
Tier 2, we have invested in a company where the founder came from Ambala. And that was the only pitch in about 10,000 odd pitches. He made it in Hindi to us. Okay? Fantastic. And you will say that EdTech is slowing down everything. But we found that tier 2, tier 3 cities में any parent, चाहे वो प्लम्बर का बेटा हो या परचून की दुकान का बेटा हो या गवर्नमेंट में नौकरी करने वाले का बेटा हो, द एम्बिशन टू स्टडी इज़ द फर्स्ट थिंग. तो वो अपना घर का गोल्ड बेच के या गिरवी रख के भी उसको अच्छे स्कूल में पढ़ाता है. ठीक है. सो विद्याकुल इज़ द नेम ऑफ द कंपनी एंड तरुण इज़ द फाउंडर. एंड हिंदी के पिच के अलावा भी ही स्टैमर्स अ लिटिल. बट दैट वाज one of the greatest use cases that we saw, that what is he building is phenomenal. He's the number 1 in Gujarat, he's number 1 in Uttar Pradesh, he has entered Bihar's market and he's teaching rural bachcho ko basic education at a very affordable price.
Perfect, thank you. So with a wonderful discussion with the panelists, which includes the ecosystem player to angel network to a fund, now let's me open the floor for the questions. I hope any questions with the audience? Okay, never mind. I think thank you so much everyone for being here in the panel. So now I think we'll invite somebody from the.
Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you, gentlemen, for a very engaging and a power-loaded fire chat. My humble request to Mr. Sushil Sharma to acknowledge the presence of the speakers with a memento, starting with Sandro Stephen. Thank you, sir. Mr. Rahul Narvekar, please accept our token of appreciation. Mr. Addison Appu, thanks for your contribution today. Thank you so much, everyone. I would now request Mr. Sandeep Narula and Mr. Gurmeet Singh to please come on the dais. We are giving away 2 citations. I request Mr. Sandeep Narula and Mr. Gurmeet Singh to present a citation to Mr. Arvind Kumar, DG STPI, in the presence of all the audience today. The citation is an acknowledgement of the valuable support rendered by Sri Kumar and his team. Thank you so much, sir, for all your support. Just a moment, sir. Sure, sure. Would you like to sit till then, sir? We would now like to acknowledge the efforts and courage of the startups to make it to this event through a certificate. We will just wait for 2 minutes and calling for help to clear the dais so that we can have startups come up and collect their certificates. Please note, we are not calling the startups in any particular order. They are just placed randomly. Starting with Carewell 360, CareTech 360 Private Limited. Are you there? Yes, please. Let's applaud for all the startups. Cerbotech Education Private Limited. Requesting the startup, if you're present in the room and if you're taking time to come up, please just shout out from your place that you're there so that I know you're there. I will wait for you and not move forward. Hanji, sure. I don't think they're there. Dexterio. Dexterio, are you there? Sahayak. Team Sahayak, you there? Maybe. Secure Blink. Secure Blink. Road Grid India Private Limited. Road Grid India Private Limited. Catonic India Private Limited. Catonic India Private Limited. Requesting startups to please enter from my right. Yes, please. Catonic India. Combat Robotics India Private Limited. नहीं वो अगर नहीं है तो पास नहीं करना है वो आप देखो आप अपने पास रख लो. Nexus Power. Nexus Power. Do we have the team from Nexus Power? Deep Facts Private Limited. Deep Facts Private Limited. Requesting to just shout out, yeah. Yes. Pass this on. Sorry? Oh, you're from Visakhapatnam? Hyderabad. Okay. Aura Sure Private Limited. Aura Sure Private Limited. नहीं है. नहीं है. Subbalakshmi Future Solutions OPC Limited. Ayati Devices Private Limited. Team from Ayati Devices Private Limited. You there? Okay. आप एक चेयर पुल करो जो नहीं है वहाँ रखते जाओ. ठीक है. Gross and Grade Private Limited. SenseGIS Technologies. SenseGIS Technologies. Logic Boots Private Limited. Logic Boots Private Limited. Evizon Agri Services. Evizon Agri Services. Priorities Made Easy Technology Private Limited. Yes, please. Carbonaut Techcom Private Limited. Carbonaut Techcom Private Limited. I see somebody running. Yeah? Which one? Must have gone back. Renaissance Global Marketing and Consulting Private Limited. Renaissance Global Marketing and Consulting Private Limited. आप उसमें recognize कर लेंगे, it'll be better for you to recognize. Credmade Fintech Private Limited. नहीं है ये. Credmade Fintech Private Limited. Are you walking up to the, no. You are? It's Credmade? Okay. SARK Customs Private Limited. SAARK. SARK Customs Private Limited. Interview Buddy. The team from Interview Buddy. Quebec Ventures Private Limited. Yes. Quebec Ventures Private Limited. Let's please applaud when the teams are walking up. Silence really kills. Mercado RHA Technology Private Limited. Pardon me if I'm mispronouncing it. Mercado RHA Technology Private Limited. Cardell Industries Private Limited. Cardell Industries Private Limited. Yeah. Teresa Technologies Private Limited. Teresa Technologies Private Limited. Nimble Visions Private Limited. Nimble Visions Private Limited. Rajesh Laboratories Private Limited. Rajesh Laboratories Private Limited. Abracadabra Software Solutions Private Limited. Abracadabra. Frontiers Private Limited. Calling the team from Frontiers Private Limited. Capitry Private Limited. Capitry Private Limited. Fruits Technologies Private Limited. Fruits with a double O. Fruits Technologies Private Limited. Orjam Software Solutions Private Limited. Orjam, or is it Orjam? I'm not sure. So, is it Orjam? Okay. A2P Energy Solutions Private Limited. A2P Energy Solutions Private Limited. Social Comment Private Limited. Social Comment Private Limited. Cares at Home Health Management Private Limited. Cares at Home Health Management Private Limited. Ompri Builtcon Private Limited. Ompri Builtcom Private Limited. EF Polymer. EF Polymer. Tech Orange Engineering Private Limited. Tech Orange Engineering Private Limited. Code Bugged Organization Private Limited. Code Bugged Organization Private Limited. Yes, he's coming. Archesion AI Private Limited. Archesion AI Private Limited. Cancrie, it's spelled as C-A-N-C-R-I-E. I'm pronouncing it correctly? No. Cancrie. Yeah. Credensis Tech Private Limited. Credensis Tech Private Limited. Yeah, I was just, you coming? Okay. Das Infomedia Private Limited. Das Infomedia Private Limited. Myrestica Technologies Private Limited. Myrestica Technologies Private Limited. Brennan Technologies Private Limited. Brennan Technologies Private Limited. TechNext Lab Private Limited. Photonics, they've also mentioned, I'm sorry. TechNext Labs Private Limited, Photonics. No, he's not coming. Evigway Technologies Private Limited. Evigway Technologies Private Limited. Evigway? Produlive Innovations Private Limited. Produlive Innovations Private Limited. Sarthi Healthcare Private Limited. Sarthi Healthcare Private Limited. Avi Softwares. Avi Softwares. On to Cook India Private Limited. On to Cook India Private Limited. Anself Dynamics Private Limited. Anself Dynamics Private Limited. Ompri Buildcon Private Limited. Ompri Buildcon Private Limited. I think I've got this again, but Rajesh Laboratories Private Limited. I remember calling it out. Go Fresh. Go Fresh. Manodayam Private Limited. Somebody's calling out?
Yes, ma'am. Rajesh.
Okay.
Rajesh level.
Yeah. Manodayam Private Limited. Manodayam Private Limited. Hobbit. Team Hobbit. Wit blocks. Wit blocks. Okay. Cronberry Technologies Private Limited. Cronberry Technologies Private Limited. Exfinito Biodesigns Private Limited. Exfinito Biodesigns Private Limited. Ordertech Solutions LLP. Ordertech, it's spelled as AUDERTEC, just in case I'm mispronouncing it. AG Text Technologies Private Limited. AG Next Technologies Private Limited. Arms for All Private Limited. Arms for All Private Limited. This one is again done, but I'll recall. AuraSure. AuraSure Private Limited. You're here? Okay. Uniaxiom. Uniaxiom. Cash Cry, a very intriguing name. Crying out cash. Cash Cry. Team Cash Cry. 0522 Axiotech Private Limited. 0522 Axiotech Private Limited. Davik Biz Solutions Private Limited. Davik Biz Solutions Private Limited. Nolcom Private Limited. Nolcom Private Limited. Is the team from Abracadabra back or in the room? Abracadabra, yeah, okay. Texmen Innovation. Texmen Innovation. Coracia Technologies Private Limited. Coracia Technologies Private Limited. Pupil Mesh Private Limited. Pupil Mesh Private Limited. He's there. Square Comp Solutions Private Limited. Square Comp Solutions Private Limited. He's there. Deep Loop Technologies. Deep Loop Technologies. Trayambhu Tech Solutions Private Limited. Trayambhu Tech Solutions Private Limited. Yes. Prayogik Technologies Private Limited. Prayogik Technologies Private Limited. Mythica Technologies Private Limited. Mythica Technologies Private Limited. You there? Okay. Intel E-Wings, or is it Intelli Wings? Intelli? Okay. Sure. Sure, please.
Yeah. So, hello everybody. My name is Raja Mishra. I am the founder and CEO of Mythica Technology. We are doing something out of the box. We are trying to build a computer for the blind people. Alongside that, we are also making a keyboard with certain new ideas and certain new patterns. Again, for people with vision disability, learning disability, and locomotive disabilities. Alongside that, I'll just add one more interesting story. So the first time I went to STPI Bhubaneswar, it was a wonderful experience. And what happened is I was trying to navigate independently. There were some wonderful people who came to help me. Then I realized that maybe in the near future, I should be in a position to navigate independently. And that's where the first navigation product came to mind. So along with computers, we are kind of including IoTs into this particular thing. That would be phase 2, yes. But we are looking at ambient computing for people with disabilities. And it affects the normal, and in that case, the able-bodied people in a big way. Google Maps, Tesla, Amazon, everything was made keeping in mind a certain disabilities, but that has changed the way people in day-to-day usage, the way they use the things. So that's what we are trying to do. We are making products inclusive, or we are making the designs inclusive so that it impacts everyone and it affects the usability. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Which one? Okay.
Congratulations, Team Mythica. Intelli Wings. Intelli Wings. FX UAV Technologies Private Limited. FX UAV Technologies Private Limited. Medtel Healthcare Private Limited. Medtel Healthcare Private Limited. Neo Urja Private Limited. Neo Urja Private Limited. Infiction Labs Private Limited. Infiction Labs Private Limited. Project Albatross, or is it ALBATROSS? Medico Albatross Private Limited. WECREP. WECREP. So we restart, I mean, the ones that were done, probably some of you are not present. We're actually done. If you have been present since the beginning, you may just check. Carbonaut Techcom Private Limited. Subbalakshmi Future Solutions OPC. Subbalakshmi, right? Yeah, please. Malhari Projects. Malhari Projects. SARC Customs Private Limited. SARC Customs Private Limited. Hey. नहीं आ रहा है अभी. Combat Robotics India Private Limited. Combat Robotics India Private Limited. The team is there? Team is there? Jidoka Technologies Private Limited. हाँ, they were there. Jidoka Technologies Private Limited. नहीं. Travelo Healthcare Services Private Limited. Travelo Healthcare Services Private Limited. Travelo? Okay. TechNext Lab Private Limited. TechNext Lab Private Limited. You there? No. There है वो TechNext? नहीं है. TechNext नहीं. You there? Okay. 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 0522 Axiotech Private Limited. Business Sense Technologies Private Limited. Business Sense Technologies Private Limited. Care Health Tech Services Private Limited. Care Health Tech Services Private Limited. Care? This is yours? Bossleo, right? Yes, yes, Care there. Bossleo Technologies Private Limited. Bossleo Technologies Private Limited. Addis Technologies Private Limited. Addis Technologies Private Limited. EduMoon. EduMoon. That's a different startup. Sorry. Tusker AI Private Limited. Tusker AI Private Limited. Do we have one? Tusker? Okay. Quebec Ventures Private Limited. Quebec Ventures Private Limited. This is yours. Project Albatross. Project Albatross. Nexus Power. Nexus Power. है सामने है ये सामने है Is this yours? Yeah, please. Nexus Power. Avizon Agri Services. Avizon, I'm sorry. Avizon Agri Services. Interview Buddy. Interview Buddy. Secure Blink. Secure Blink. Aniyam Payment Solutions Private Limited. Aniyam Payment Solutions Private Limited. Anantari Tech Private Limited. Anantari Tech Private Limited. Do we have more? Anyone in the room waiting for your certificate? We have called out all of them. Maybe it's got mixed up. So you've been there in the room since the beginning? Okay. 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 So probably you would quickly like to just walk up and see if your certificate is there. Else what you can do is probably come up with somebody else's certificate, take a photograph if you can't find it. Okay. Servotech Private Limited. Servotech Private Limited. How do you pronounce it? Laos. Laos. If you cannot find it, a humble request, I do understand the sentiments behind it, but a humble request to come up with some other certificate and take a photograph. Teresa Technologies Private Limited. Teresa Technologies Private Limited. Taizo Technologies Private Limited. Myrestica Technologies Private Limited. Myrestica? You didn't find yours? Exfinito Biodesigns Private Limited. Exfinito Biodesigns Private Limited. We'll just wait for a moment, they're searching. Archesian AI Private Limited. Archesian AI Private Limited. How many startups are left? How many of us are left? You got? Just one? Those are momentous. Please, कोई certificate ले आके आ जाएंगे? Can you please be on stage? You can just get any certificate, take a picture. You'll get your certificate later, don't worry. Sorry? Green energy? What solution? Green energy private limited. Okay. Green Energy Private Limited. Green Energy Private Limited. Dexterio Private Limited. Dexterio Private Limited. We done? We done? Ma'am, are we done? You done? Okay. Thank you so much, gentlemen. Right, Dexterio, your certificate is here. You took a photograph already? It was lying behind. Corbotech Education Private Limited, did we miss on you? No. Okay. Thank you so much. Gentlemen, please sit down. Now I would request Shri Arvind Kumar, Director General, STPI, to please give his closing remarks.
Thank you, Harshita. It has been a very long day for all of us. Young startups, techies, ladies and gentlemen. I am happy
to have been seen the kind of passion among you. It gives a lot of energy to all of us to work for a startup. When you people get award, we also feel rewarded because this is all our efforts. Our efforts are also appreciated in this manner. It has been a matter of great privilege to have the presence of our Honorable Minister. In the morning, he has mentioned about all startup policies, ease of doing business in this country, which is again very encouraging to all of us. And the kind of energy and passion I have seen in 115, jury's job is going to be very difficult. I don't know how they will select 40. So I was asking with Chairman ESC that don't keep it Alibaba ke 40 sure. Let us have more if more are good. 40 is not a good number. So if you find more, let us increase this number. Don't limit ourselves to 40. That's what I was discussing with him. Over the last 4 to 5 months, we are working on this project. And what the mandate we have set 5 months back, today we were able to achieve it. It's matter of really matter of proud to all of us, all STPI team, all ESC team. We have done these conferences in 13 places, 13 states, and we have got a lot of cooperation from all the states. I must thank all state governments, their secretary ITs, who has cooperated one way or other way by their presence, supporting in multiple ways. So I would like to thank to them also. I would like to place on record my deep appreciation to STPI team, to ESC team. Without them, it was not possible to conduct such a good event. I thank you all once again for having grand success this event, and all the best for those who selected here, and best of journey for them to USA. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. We have 2 more certificates requesting Brennan Technologies Private Limited to please come up. Brennan Technologies Private Limited. Sorry. Neo Urja Private Limited. Neo Urja Private Limited. I now invite Mr. Sandeep Narula, Chairman ESC, to please propose the vote of thanks.
Thank you. So much packed in the day event. Right from the morning, I have heard almost all the sessions, beginning from the inaugural session. There are many takeaways from various sessions which have been conducted. I am truly impressed, and I hope all the startups, the leaders of the startup who are here, are winners. You may get your name in 40 or 45 or whatever, as Arvindji just mentioned, Alibaba 40. So, but even if you are not there in the list, I believe you are a winner. Because so much that has been packed into back-to-back sessions, especially with regard to startups. Some of the things which I want to clearly spell out once again, and with my experience also, I have seen a lot of startups are little shy on the statutory compliances, on the agreements. Things like this have been mentioned repeatedly in the session and forcefully mentioned. Of course, that is one thing I want to stress on, that this is something which we need to be very clear, especially with regard to our intention. You know, when we are talking of investment and when you talk to an investor subsequently, he would ask for the documentation trail. So that is something, and also the statutory compliances, clearances, things like this, which are very, very important. On the business front, I heard one of the speakers who mentioned about OYO. In fact, that is a story to learn a lot about. And not only that, there are many stories which were spoken. I would not take much of the time, but I just mention one last thing. That when we go to US, whosoever is there, you need to be very clear on your pitching. In fact, something about that is also mentioned. The investors there would also be falling short in the time. And you need to be very precise, very focused to the point to get the attraction within first 1 minute. That is very, very important. So once this session is over, and I hope you are in the list, so you need to be ready with that pitch, one pager, one document, and very, very clearly focused. I hope you are all aware, but from ESC STPI side, I'm also mentioning that we'll also work with you on that front and how to prepare you on the pitching. We will have very close knitted sessions with each one of you who are there in the list. And before I end, I must convey my sincere thanks to Team STPI, who have worked very closely with us all through for last so many months. And of course, Team ESC, which has been, which is there working with us for since the beginning. Apart from that, we got extensive support from Ministry of Commerce, Ministry of Electronics and IT, and GT, and various other organizations who have worked closely. So I must convey my sincere thanks to each one of them. Because of paucity of time, I may not be able to mention the name of each one of them, but I have so much of regard, and I must convey thanks. And of course, the startup leaders who have come here, I must acknowledge your presence, and my true wishes to each one of you. And before I end, I must acknowledge the presence of our past chairman, Mr. Nalin Gandhi, Mr. Nalin Kohli. I also acknowledge the presence of Shri Pradeep Gandhi, ex-member of parliament, and I would request Mr. Nalin Kohli to come on the dais. We would like to give him a memento. I would now request Mr. Pradeep Gandhi, ex-member of parliament, to come on dais. Kindly present memento. And my job of delivering word of thanks will not be over unless I invite Harshita, who has played so constructive role in today's event. Thank you so much, and please come on dais. And now it's our turn to present you memento.
And let me mention Harshita, herself runs a startup. Maybe she'll speak about it. Just tell everyone what all you do.
What all I do.
On the startup. Except this anchoring.
So I don't do this professionally though. Yeah, so I have a startup and I'm the co-founder at All Is Well. We at All Is Well provide mental and emotional well-being solutions for corporate employees. Our services include training and one-on-one counseling services. We are incubated at IIM Bangalore and IIM Visakhapatnam. Anything more you guys want to know, you can connect later. Thank you so much. We have 2 more certificates and we'll quickly invite them. Social Comment Private Limited, Social Comment Private Limited. SenseBiz Technologies. SenseGiz Technologies. Thank you, dignitaries on the dais. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. That brings us to the end of the National Conclave. I'm so sorry. Yes, please, sir.
I would just request Team STPI and Team ESC to come on dais, and also all those who have worked with us in various capacities as jury member or on the panel. So please come on dais for a group photo. Sachan sir, Suryansh, please, please.
Just a little note for startups. All the selected startups would be intimated via an email. You'll be receiving an email. I would re-emphasize on the fact that there is never a failure. There is always feedback. With that, I am your MC, Harshita Lalchand, signing off. Best of luck to each one of you. More power to you. Thank you so much. Let's have all of us on the stage for a group photograph. All the startups, please join us for a group photograph. All the dignitaries, the speakers, please join us for a group photograph.
Yeah. And your anchoring also.
Thank you.